What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to What If I Was Child Emperor and an S-Class Criminal for Fun in MHA My Chaos Academia Part 2. If you are enjoying this series, please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and leave comments down below, and help me reach my 100 subscribers target by the end of the month. Don't forget to check out the author of this amazing series. The story link is in the description down below. With that, guys, enjoy. Ho, Hydra! After my introduction to the world, I deactivated my voice amplifier. However, an eerie chill ran down my spine. Prominence burn. I hear an anger-laden scream coming behind me. At this, immediately one of my robotic tentacles unfolds from my backpack, grabbing Hawks and throwing him inside a building not far from my position. I need Hawks alive to confuse the heroes. They will think that I am just a victim of a nefarious organization, and that will keep them distracted for a long time. Then my protective barrier quickly activates, covering me in a powerful hexagonal shield, protecting me from the powerful flames hitting and surrounding my shield. Endeavor is here. It seems that my battle against Hawks took longer than estimated. This completely changes my escape plan. Before this, numerous scenarios begin to formulate in my little brain as the flames cease. So my guess was correct after all. That barrier can protect you from my flames, says Endeavor, appearing from the flames epically with a threatening posture with his arms crossed and a completely serious face. At that moment, my little heart begins to pound wildly as the adrenaline begins to spread through my veins. Of all the heroes, for me, the most dangerous of all is without a doubt Endeavor. I will not hold back just because you are a child. Before me stands a dangerous villain, and you will be treated as such. Endeavor growls, covering his entire body in flames, raising the temperature of the whole place. The main show is about to start, and I plan to have a lot of fun. You wouldn't think you could defeat me, I say, cheekily walking slowly towards him while my shield remains active. With those little flames, I say with a crooked smile from behind my gas mask. Right, I ask, tilting my head slightly. At this, Endeavor's eyes narrow in my direction as the temperature begins to rise higher and higher. I'll show you who I am, he growls, throwing both fists back as he begins to concentrate his flames on a single point. Hell's Curtain, Endeavor exclaims, throwing his arms forward, emitting a huge blanket of flames in my direction. Maximum power. Chaos Reflector Shield, I exclaim, spreading my arms as my shield receives a powerful fire attack. All contingency protocols activate. Now, I exclaim as powerful flames reflect in all directions, and all hell breaks loose around me. The main battle has started. POV Toshinori Yagi, sir. Would you like me to pour you another drink? A friendly bartender behind a bar asks me. I'm currently on an all-expenses-paid Atlantic Ocean cruise, courtesy of my old friend Mirai Sasaki. I tried to call him after receiving the boat ticket in the mail. However, he does not answer my calls. Will he still be upset? Why did he send me the ticket? So it must be some kind of trick on his part. Possibly he wants to show me his new apprentice, and I set up a meeting on this cruise ship. Sir Night Eye's thought process is sometimes very confusing to me. But where do I get the money to pay for all this? However, there is no trace of Mirai on the cruise ship, and the most curious of all is that despite being a cruise ship, I have only run into some members of the crew who kindly guided me to the bar. This is very strange. My phone hasn't received any kind of signal for about an hour. A sinking feeling wraps around my stomach, warning me that something is very, very wrong. Sir, are you all right? The friendly bartender asks me again. My hero instincts have never been wrong. At that, my eyes focus on one of the televisions near me that is transmitting only static. Why is there no signal or internet? I ask. An hour ago there were no problems. I have no idea, possibly a communication failure or an electrical storm, says the bartender, nervously wiping a glass with a rag. The last message I got on my phone was from Naomasa regarding a little villain brawl in his jurisdiction, typical stuff. But why do I feel so impatient? I then spread the one for all on my ears, while maintaining my emaciated form, covering the ship and its surroundings with my senses. Shortly after, my eyes snap open due to not detecting anyone else aboard the ship, except for the bartender and myself, while in the distance I can hear boats speeding away from the ship. Why did they leave? What is happening? At that moment, a holographic screen appears in front of the bartender, showing a small silhouette covered in a black cape. Why does a bartender have such advanced technology? Are they affiliated with I Island? Is it some kind of test? From what I see, the hologram appears to be some kind of recording. The moment has come, says the small figure in the hologram, causing the bartender's eyes to narrow in my direction, causing a shiver to run through my entire body. Why did his aptitude change drastically? Execute Order 66. It's all the little figure says in the hologram before fading away. In that, the bartender begins to light up more and more, while small bolts of electricity begin to run through his entire body. What the hell is going on this ship? It may be that these people, do they know my real identity? Inverted exclamation point, inverted exclamation point, inverted exclamation point. Hail Hydra POV third person UA grounds. The UA security defenses are on high alert, while in the distance some flashes can be seen coming from the city. This villain is different, Nezu whispers, looking intently at the UA campus, turned into a makeshift hospital. Quick, bring the wounded heroes here. Cementus yells, placing both hands on the ground and quickly creating a structure resembling a small makeshift hospital. Recovery girl is found with her cane moving quickly from side to side, tending to the heroes and policemen who were injured after the stadium attack, while wounded heroes continue to arrive from the city. This motivated the villains, who are taking advantage of this situation to cause even more chaos. Director, the Heroes Public Safety Commission has just authorized your proposal. Vlad King exclaims, running towards Nezu. At that, Nezu's eyes gleam slightly as an evil smile spreads across his furry face, which makes Vlad King a little nervous. Activate emergency protocol UA locomotor, Nezu exclaims through a comlink that he already had set up and configured beforehand. During his time as headmaster of the UA, Nezu has prepared numerous contingency plans for different situations, and Nezu will not let this opportunity pass him by. At that moment, from the sky, two combat robots fall to their knees next to Nezu's sides, creating small craters in the ground, and immediately drawing the attention of nearby heroes and police. Director Vlad King whispers with his eyes wide open at what his eyes are witnessing. Then, the ground begins to shake slightly, while in the distance rows and rows of fighting robots with red robotic eyes, used mainly for entrance tests and maintaining the security of the facilities, can be seen. All marched in orderly lines towards the main gates of the most important school for heroes in the country. Awesome. Cementus whispers, swallowing a lump in his throat, while the rest of the heroes and policemen have looks of astonishment on their faces. After witnessing such a display of power from the UA, the city has been threatened. March into the city and defend it. Follow your programming code. UA will support the city in this time of crisis and need, Nezu exclaims, pointing to the city in the distance. At that, the robots begin to fan out in the direction of the city as a small army of machines under Nezu's command. I always wanted to do this, Nezu whispers with a strange gleam in his eyes as he watches the robots leaving the UA facility and marching towards the city. Looks like there's a new player, Nezu hums, watching in the distance as the lights of the city begin to go out until the entire city was left without electricity, thus remaining in complete darkness, being illuminated by flames and explosions. Child Emperor, huh? What a peculiar name, says Nezu, turning his back on a city in chaos as he heads to his office to command the robots. What fun, Nezu says, waving his tail happily and pressing a small button. However, you will not approach this school, Nezu says darkly as a gigantic force field begins to cover the school of heroes under the dumbfounded gaze of those present. Minutes later, in the city, near the epicenter of the battle between Endeavor and Child Emperor, civilians have been evacuated from the main battle zone, exclaims pro hero Rocklock in the middle of the street, approaching hero Gunhead. They are tasked with taking down any remaining villains in their assigned zone and providing aid to any civilians caught in the main combat zone. Endeavor needs a help, Rocklock says, looking at the explosions of fire that occur in the distance. Orders are to cordon off the main combat area and help civilians. Gunhead exclaims quickly, didn't you see what that little demon did to Hawks? Gunhead says, shaking his head, to hell with it. He is just a little kid. If we fight together with Endeavor, we can defeat that brat and get some publicity, he says, Rocklock with a sly smile on his face as he starts running towards the main battlefield, followed by a reluctant Gunhead. However, a few streets away, a burst of light passes through Rocklock's leg to the surprise of both. Ha! Rocklock yells, falling to the ground in severe pain, as Gunhead quickly supports him on his shoulder. Sniper, Gunhead exclaims as more bursts of light rapidly approach his position. We all are the JINGOES_OOO. Toga pulls the trigger of her laser sniper rifle on top of a building, while holding a lollipop in her mouth and humming a tune Samu taught her. We are in the JUNGLE_OOO. She hums as she keeps shooting at any hero who tries to interfere in Samu's fight. EOV Endeavor Hellspider, I exclaimed, sending long thin blasts of fire from my fingertips, creating a wave of destruction toward the demon child. His damn shield is protecting him from my flames. I need more heat. The fire blasts hit Child Emperor's shield. However, most of them are reflected in different directions, destroying nearby buildings. By now, all civilians along with Hawks have been evacuated, so I can unleash my power without worrying about collateral damage. I need to take care of his shield once I manage to penetrate his defense. I will char him. Hey, I'm supposed to be the villain, and you've caused more destruction than me. That's unfair. Child Emperor taunts me by deactivating his shield and throwing some marbles in my direction. Then everything around me is covered in thick smoke. You are too dangerous for me, so you will not escape. I hear Child Emperor humming. At this, I extend my arms and provoke loud applause, causing a wave of fire in all directions, thus dispelling the smoke. It was at that moment that I realized what Child Emperor's plan really was. The smoke was just a distraction. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Ha! I exclaim involuntarily as I grit my teeth and fall to my knees with wide eyes. Dozens of little robotic bugs are running through my body right now, causing uncontrollable laughter as my lungs start to burn with pain. At this rate, I'm going to suffocate. Damn it. Tickle tickle bug, Child Emperor says, lightly laughing with his hands on his waist. Sometimes I get scared of my own inventions, he says, swinging on himself before reaching his hand towards his waist and unfolding a small cylindrical object, after which he presses a button, and a red light illuminates his entire small body. It's a damn lightsaber. Game over tilde and ever san, is all he says before he starts running in my direction. Then everything around me slows down as I watch as Child Emperor slowly rushes towards me with his lightsaber, and I catch a glimpse through the visors of his gas mask. Bloodthirsty eyes getting closer and closer to me. My dream has always been to surpass All Might with hard work and dedication, no matter what the cost. I will not allow a small child to stain my legacy. My end will not be this way. I need more heat, much more. I will never give up, I exclaim from deep in my chest, ignoring the twitches coming from my own body as a determined look settles on my face. Flash fire fists, I exclaim, raising the temperature of my fire to the highest level, which causes the robotic insects that were immobilizing me to melt. At this, my flaming fist rushes towards Child Emperor, who instantly activates his protective barrier a few meters away from me. Then a powerful explosion engulfs the entire battlefield as my flaming fist hits his shield. At that, the force of the explosion caused the ground beneath Child Emperor to dislodge, thus causing him to be propelled into a small building that was still standing. Whoa, he exclaims within his protective barrier, crashing into the building and causing the structure to collapse. I can't seem pathetic right now. I growl with my fist outstretched, breathing heavily. That won't be enough to defeat him. This villain genuinely is a real threat. I grit my teeth as I start to head in the direction where the building collapsed, not planning to give the boy a chance to recover. However, a line of blue fire gets in my way as a figure starts to walk out of the flames with his hands in his pockets. At this, my eyes narrow towards the newcomer as I prepare for another fight. A year ago, a demon with the appearance of a child told me, says a young man in his 20s with patches of gnarled, wrinkled, purple skin on the lower part of his face. Then overcoming hell near death, he says with a crooked smile spreading across his face as his eyes are locked on me as if I'm his most valuable prey. It's the secret to the explosive evolution of a villain, he says, pointing at me with both hands and pointing the tips of his fingers at me as blue flames start swelling around him. Todoroki Enji, he exclaims, sending a powerful blast of blue fire in my direction, destroying everything in its path. Shortly after, a great current of fire rises over the entire city in a mixture of red and blue fire, completely lighting up the city for several seconds. POV Dabi, a year ago, in an alley. Damn, I'm hungry, I say, looking in the trash for something to eat. I recently ran out of money and nowhere to spend the night. I should have died a long time ago. Yet my will to take revenge on Endeavor keeps me alive. I have no purpose in this life other than to see him destroyed. I will destroy him. I will destroy him. I start repeating myself over and over again. In that, a burst of childish laughter behind me stops my actions, and I turn in the direction where I hear the childish laughter. In front of me, a few meters away, is a little kid looking at me intently with a slight smile on his face. I finally found YOU till the Dabi. The kid hums happily. At this, my eyes narrow in his direction as some flames begin to gather around my hands. Who are you and what do you want? I ask threateningly. Wow, how rude, the boy whispers, crossing his arms and pouting. I thought you were hungry and I brought you food, he mutters, looking away from me. What the hell is happening here? Wait a minute, he said, food. At this, I fade my flames. However, I still keep my guard up. How do you know me? I ask. I have contacts. That is all, he says, smiling innocently, taking a bento box out of his backpack and tossing it in my direction, at which I quickly grab the bento box and start devouring the contents. How long has it been since I ate anything decent? Shouldn't you be at school? I ask, with cheeks full of food, mercilessly devouring the food. Who says I'm not in school right now? He answers cryptically with a shitty smile on his face. What a strange child. I need you to lend me your power, says the boy with his hands in his pockets as a smile begins to spread across his face. In return, I will make sure to fulfill your most precious wish," he says, spreading his arms theatrically. "The end of Endeavor," he exclaims, dramatically getting my attention completely. "My name is Child Emperor, and things will be so much fun for years to come, Dabi," he says as a predatory smile begins to spread across his face. Or should I say, in actuality, it was then that I realized that I made a deal with a demon in the guise of a small child. However, I would happily follow that child to the depths of hell if my wish comes true. "Hell Spider," I exclaim, sending a powerful blast of blue fire from my fingertips, creating a wave of destruction that destroys everything in its path in Endeavor's direction. "Prominence burn," exclaims Endeavor, sending a powerful tide of fire towards my direction. Before this, both attacks collide in the middle of the battlefield, thus creating a powerful explosion that destroys everything in its path. Soon after, Endeavor comes out through the flames, looking at me with hate in his eyes, trying to imitate my movements. He asks as his body remains covered in flames. "Pathetic," he growls as flames begin to rise around him. "Let's dance together in hell," I exclaim, activating my gloves, while a powerful ball of blue fire begins to concentrate between my hands, getting bigger and bigger. "Child Emperor, lend me your strength." "EO via Samu, what fun," I exclaim, using a giant drill to get out of the rubble as the ground shakes from the powerful explosions happening around me. My reflective barrier protected me from the debris. However, I have some small bruises from the heavy impact. Fortunately, I deactivated my lightsaber before the impact, or else I would have ended up severely injured. At that moment, a powerful burst of fire rises through the air, in a magnificent combination of red and blue flames that illuminate the entire city for a few seconds. My eyes light up after witnessing such a magnificent sight in the front row. "Amazing," I whisper with a crooked smile on my face. "Looks like Dabi is taking out all his frustrations on Endeavor," I say to myself as my laptop unfolds from my backpack, and I start typing at a terrifying speed while with my other hand I start texting rapidly. Endeavor's will is unbreakable. However, let's see if his will is that strong after this. "Huh," I say with a wicked grin on my face and hit the send button. At this, I tap my shoes lightly against each other, which causes my three-dimensional rocket shoes to light up again after being at rest. "Cool," I exclaim, propelling quickly in the direction of the battle as the weapons in my backpack that are still working are deployed. Fortunately, the entire area was evacuated, including the reporters, while news helicopters dare not approach due to recurrent explosions. I must finish this quickly, otherwise, the heroes will surround me, and the situation will become very complicated. Toga will buy me some time by delaying the heroes' reinforcements. However, she won't last long. As I find myself propelling myself a few feet off the ground, I see a huge wall of red and blue fire coming between Endeavor and Dabi. "Full power," I whisper, causing a small shockwave behind me, greatly increasing my speed as I sneak up on Endeavor from the side. The beads of sweat on Endeavor's face quickly evaporate due to the high temperatures his body is generating as he breathes heavily. It seems that Endeavor is nearing its limit. It's my opportunity, in that my suspended weapons lunge at him, taking him by surprise. At this, his terrifying reflexes are activated as he dodges a gigantic drill that hits the ground a few inches from him, causing a huge crater. However, I calculated the chance that he would dodge my first attack. Then Endeavor quickly crosses his arms protectively in front of him as a giant boxing glove smashes into his arms, causing him to crash into a building in the distance. "Huh, that felt really good," I exclaim, happily bumping my fists as I rise into the air, and using my holographic visor to quickly scan the building which was evacuated minutes ago. "Now, Dabi," I exclaim, unfolding the turret from my backpack and firing the few missiles I had left at the huge building as powerful blue flames begin to engulf the entire building. My missiles strategically impact the building, causing it to start collapsing as the blue flames shatter everything in its path, creating a massive smoke screen, burying Endeavor under the rubble. "That's gotta hurt," I whisper. "Burn in hell, Endeavor." Dabi snorts with a vicious smile on his face, breathing hard, looking at the gloves he is wearing, which I made with a special material to amplify his flames and prevent him from hurting himself when using his quirk. However, the gloves are just a prototype after all. I wasn't planning on facing Endeavor tonight. This whole situation is going to generate a great butterfly effect. "Dabi, we have to," that is all I managed to say before my eyes narrow in the direction of where the building collapsed. In that, a red flash begins to light up more and more, which causes a powerful explosion of fire towards my direction, while all the smoke dissipates, motivated by the powerful shockwave. How troublesome. I instantly activate my shield, protecting myself from the powerful blaze. However, my eyes widen as I realize that Endeavor was hiding inside the blaze, propelling himself into the air, thanks to his powerful flames. "Pretty smart of you, as expected of hero number 2, I exclaim. Then Endeavor holds on tight to my shield, propelling himself higher and higher. "What? I didn't expect that. If I deactivate my shield right now to attack him, the flames will consume me," I'm trapped in my own shield. How exciting and terrifying. I exclaim with excitement as my little heart is about to burst. I thank pain for keeping me conscious. Endeavor growls with numerous wounds on his body, which begin to close and get scars, stopping the bleeding of his wounds due to the flames. You're too dangerous. I won't be able to take you alive, he says right in front of me on the other side of my hexagonal shield. Let go. Dabi screams desperately, sending powerful blasts of blue fire towards Endeavor. At this, he receives the powerful blast from Dabi, while he continues to propel himself with clenched teeth with determination plastered on his face. Endeavor, Dabi yells. Coming from a building, several laser shots are directed in Endeavor's direction, causing one of the shots to go through his arm, causing a painful wound. However, he keeps his hands steady on my barrier, rising higher and higher out of range of Dabi's flames and Toga's laser shots. You were right, overcoming hell near death is the key to becoming stronger. Endeavor growls as huge wings made of fire spread from his back, thus increasing the speed with which we rise. Now, burn in purgatory, he growls with bloodshot eyes. What's going on, Child Emperor? Toga quickly exclaims in panic through her comlink. It was fun. It's all I can answer with my eyes wide open while the sweat runs down my face. There were so many things I wanted to do, many unfinished inventions. I met amazing people in this world: Inko, Izuku, the idiot from Bakugo, Dabi, Toga, and many more people. It was a good time and I don't regret anything. It was fun. Plus ultra prominence burn! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. POV Toga. My life was a mess before Isamu found me and gave me a purpose. My family abandoned me to my fate, and everyone turned their back on me. However, he extended his hand to me and gave me his blood, the sweetest blood I've ever tasted. From that moment I got something I didn't know I wanted so much: someone who understood me. If something happens to Isamu, this world can go to hell. Ha! A hero exclaims as my needle pierces through his arm and begins to suck his blood at terrifying speed as a powerful kick from me sends him against the edge of the building I'm standing on, causing him to fall into the void. However, a robot saves the hero before crashing to the ground. Ha! I wanted to see all his blood out of his body, I say, blushing with excitement. At that moment, I do an acrobatic jump backward as a robot crashes where I was a few moments ago. Target located, says the robot as several robots land behind him. Target located, the other robots say in unison as they lunge at me. They will not interfere, I say with a crooked smile behind my mask, lifting my shirt and revealing numerous modified knives strapped to my waist and abdomen. I then started to pick up the knives and throw them in the direction of my attackers, thus causing my knives to embed themselves in different parts of their robotic bodies. In that, the eyes of one of the robots change color. You should give up, you have no chance of escaping, says the robot with a cheerful voice. Someone is controlling it remotely. I'm sure it must be Nezu, who Isamu talks about so much when he's excited about building things. Obviously knives can't stop a robot, Nezu says cheerfully. Who says they were normal knives? They are a gift from Child Emperor, I say with a smile spreading across my face as I spread both hands in the air happily. Katsu, I exclaim, causing the knives to detonate, causing all the robots to explode into many pieces. I don't know what that word means, but Isamu likes it. Fascinating is all the robot controlled by Nezu says as the robot's head rolls a few inches away from me and the robot's eyes go blank. Then the door that separates the stairs from the roof explodes and Gunhead makes his appearance with both hands on his waist. Rocklock was injured by a girl, a high school girl, Gunhead says, chuckling lightly. I guess it's lucky one of the UA robots took him to the hospital. He'd die of embarrassment if he was here, he says, shaking his head before starting to walk in my direction. Another hero? How annoying. Give up, villain, Gunhead exclaims, getting ready for combat and pointing his hands at me. However, out of nowhere, a purple portal appears right behind him, causing his eyes to widen as a hand reaches through the portal and lands on Gunhead's head, causing the hero to turn to dust. My eyes widen as I ready my knives for combat against this potential enemy. With this goes 7, says a young man using a severed hand as a mask while lightly dusting his hand. Are you with Child Emperor? He asks, looking at me carefully before taking a phone out of his pocket and holding it up using only 4 fingers. I have no idea how he got my number, but he invited me to join the raid against the second hardest boss, he says as a crooked smile begins to spread across his face. Child Emperor's friends are my friends, I exclaim happily with both hands in the air. As always, Isamu seems to be ready for anything. I am Tamura Shigaraki, he says, introducing himself as he points to a figure made of purple smoke wearing a bartender outfit behind him. He is Kurajiri, he says, narrowing his eyes into the distance. And it looks like we're late. He clicks his tongue. Then a sinking feeling begins to course through my body as my gaze focuses on the distance, and I watch with wide eyes as Endeavor keeps Isamu trapped within his protective barrier as they rise into the air. Isamu is in danger. At this, I quickly grabbed my laser sniper from the ground, which I had dropped earlier as a result of the annoying heroes. I point my gun in Endeavor's direction as I start firing until my gun is out of range. No, I whisper. What's going on, Child Emperor? I quickly exclaim in panic through my comlink. This can't be happening. Osamu has contingency plans for his own contingency plans. It was fun. I hear Osamu say through his comlink. A dark look filled with murderous intent falls over my entire face. Endeavor. Kurogiri. Tamura exclaims. Then the gates of hell opened over the sky of the city. EOV Osamu plus ultra prominence burn. Endeavor exclaims, unleashing his strongest attack against my protective barrier, which begins to crack. Then the purple darkness consumed me and then spit me in Dabi's direction, making me roll on the ground at high speed, while my robotic tentacles unfurl from my pack and dig into the ground, stopping me shortly after. I find myself on the ground face up, breathing rapidly, watching in fascination as the sky turns into a representation of hell. Then I started laughing out loud. Ha ha ha. I hold my stomach as I laugh out loud. I knew that Tamura was close. However, the chances of him supporting me were close to 20%. That was close, damn it. It's good to see you're still breathing, Dabi says, extending his hand in my direction. You scared me for a moment, he whispered, looking away from me. You worry about me? I ask, feigning surprise with a shitty grin on my face. I guess he sees me as a kind of surrogate little brother. Dabi, I think I need a band-aid. I smiled cheekily, taking his hand and standing up as I brushed off my dusty clothes. Luckily, my clothes are made of a very resistant fiber, in addition to the fact that my body has very good durability. Otherwise, I would have several broken bones right now. Endeavor has reached his limit, says Dabi, watching as a fireball descends from the sky, and in the center of the fireball is Endeavor, who crashes to the ground not far from us, causing a powerful shock wave that sends nearby vehicles flying. Do you think we can defeat him before the heroes arrive? Dabi asks me, watching as Endeavor walks through the flames and starts walking towards us with heavy breaths as he keeps his body covered in flames. Just then, behind us, a purple portal appears, and Tamura Shigaraki makes an appearance of it with his hands in his pockets, as he walks through the portal, followed by a cheerful Toga and attentive Kurogiri. Hello and welcome to the raid, you're just in time for the boss fight. I salute cheekily with a peace sign in Tamura's direction. Toga tries to jump towards me, but is stopped by Dabi, who grabs her by the back of her shirt and scolds her. Child Emperor. Tamura responds with a nod. Once the second hardest boss drops, nothing will stand between the main boss, All Might. Tamura says with a sadistic smile on his face. Well, I'll use that to my advantage. If we work together, All Might will fall. I guarantee it. I say, happily giving a thumbs up in his direction as Tamura's eyes light up. I already have you, Tamura Shigaraki. Child Emperor. Endeavor exclaims furiously into the distance as he bumps his fists, causing huge blasts of fire to spread throughout his surroundings. I will show you what it means to be the strongest. That is all he says before starting to propel himself using his flames, which lift him a few inches off the ground as he rushes toward us with a battle cry. It's time for the final battle. Villains, I exclaimed, standing at the front of the group, lighting my red lightsaber again and raising it into the air with a determined look on my face. Toga unsheathes her knives and twirls them in her hands nimbly as a predatory look settles on her face. At that, Dabi ignites powerful blue flames around his gloves, causing him to rise a few inches into the air as a deranged grin spreads across his face. Tamura creaks his neck and spreads his hands in combat readiness as a vicious grin spreads behind his mask. Meanwhile, Kurogiri extends his cloudy hands into the air, creating a huge portal in front of us, while smaller portals spawn around Endeavor. Assemble, I exclaim, pointing my lightsaber in Endeavor's direction and starting to run through the portal with a smile spreading across my face. Soon after, we began to appear around Endeavor through the portals around him with a battle cries, thus beginning a battle that would change the fate of the world. The past cannot be extinguished. What is done here is paid here, Dabi exclaims. Endeavor has reached beyond his limit. The only thing keeping him conscious at this point is his willpower. Is incredible. The past cannot be turned off, Dabi exclaims, sending powerful fireballs in Endeavor's direction, causing loud explosions. You will pay for everything you did, Dabi exclaims with venom in his voice. I am the strongest. Endeavor roars, raising the temperature of the entire battlefield, crossing both arms in front of his face, thus protecting himself from Dabi's powerful blue flames as his foot hits the ground hard, sending a blast of flames in Dabi's direction. Dabi quickly takes cover behind some rubble, protecting himself from Endeavor's flames, which quickly dissipate as Endeavor begins to gasp for air as the flames around Endeavor's body gradually fade. At that moment, Tamura and Toga come out of a portal rushing towards Endeavor, who is already very weakened. Toga sends out her blood-sucking needle and sticks it into one of Endeavor's legs as the blood begins to leave his body. Your flames will no longer protect you from physical attacks, Tamura says with a vicious smirk approaching from the side of his, reaching out his hand towards Endeavor's head. At this, Endeavor's eyes narrow as he dodges Tamura's hand as a powerful fist slam into Tamura's stomach, sending him flying into nearby rubble. Even without my flames, I am still stronger than all of you, he growls, Endeavor detaching the blood-sucking needle from his leg and destroying it in his hands. Damn insects, he exclaimed. That was a gift from Child Emperor, Toga exclaims, unsheathing a pair of knives from her waist and lunging at Endeavor. I will spill all your blood, she exclaims, moving nimbly and performing acrobatic jumps, thus avoiding Endeavor's punches as she tries to stab him. At the same time, I go through a portal and appear in the air right above Endeavor, swinging my lightsaber in his direction as I descend on him. At this, he jumps back, nimbly dodging my lightsaber as Toga throws both knives in Endeavor's direction before backing away. Endeavor dodges the knives which dig into the ground inches from him. Katsu, Toga exclaims, causing the knives to explode and slightly disorient Endeavor. Then before I hit the ground, another portal appears below me, quickly consuming me, and I respawn in another newly spawned portal behind a disoriented Endeavor. However, he instantly spins in my direction, grabbing my wrist and stopping my lightsaber inches from him. Trash like all of you will never win, Endeavor growls, holding my wrist tightly, causing my lightsaber to fall to the ground. In that, he crushes my lightsaber with his foot, destroying it. You will pay for it. At that very moment, my giant boxing glove unfolds from my backpack, hitting Endeavor hard in the face and smashing him to the ground, thereby freeing my wrist from his grasp. You are a hypocrite, Endeavor, is all I say, rubbing my wrist as Endeavor gets up from the ground, looking at me intently before spitting a tooth onto the ground. At that moment, several blue fireballs hit his body, causing him to start backing up as he uses his arms to protect himself. The only trash here is you, Todoroki Enji, Dabi growls, stopping the fireballs. I'm not going to fall here, Endeavor roars, breathing heavily with his arms crossed in front of him protectively. However, his arms are now full of burns as his body begins to steam. My vision may be blurry, but I will not lose sight of my victory, he exclaims with determination plastered on his face. This is taking too long, and I don't want to be surrounded by dozens of powerful pro heroes. I'm pretty sure Endeavor knows reinforcements are coming. However, I still have a trick up my sleeve. You know, Endeavor, I feel a little sorry for you, I say, shaking my head and slowly approaching him. In your dream to surpass All Might, you sacrificed your humanity, you sacrificed your wife, and you sacrificed your children. You sacrificed everything and still failed miserably, I exclaim, throwing my hands theatrically in the air. Play news, I whisper quickly. In that, a huge holographic screen appears above me, broadcasting different news channels. All of these news channels have something in common, which causes Endeavor's eyes to widen. All of Endeavor's dirty secrets have come to light, in addition to the fact that he is blamed for most of the destruction caused to the city by not controlling his flames properly while trying to capture a small child. Dishonor DISCLAIMER tilde, you can see the wickedness in his eyes. I hum, swaying back and forth, enjoying seeing Endeavor's pale face in utter shock. POV, third person, anarchy will reign forever, exclaims a villain, laughing out loud with a body covered in metal, running through the streets with a briefcase of money in his hands after having robbed an ATM. In that, a powerful kick hits him on the head, knocking him out instantly. Weak, Moko taunts the villain at her feet as several pro heroes begin to walk past her toward the center of town. Keep your guard up. We don't know how many villains are lurking in the shadows, Edgeshot exclaims from the top of a building. We are close to the hot zone. We have to surround the villains and immobilize them. It's all he says before the building he was in exploded into many pieces, drawing the attention of all nearby heroes. What happened? Moko exclaims, looking in all directions and extending her senses to locate the attacker. He is fast, Edgeshot says, appearing at Mirko's side as the rest of the heroes fall into position behind them in preparation for combat. In front of the heroes is the destroyed building as dust billows into the air. However, footsteps can be heard approaching them as beads of sweat run down Edgeshot's face. Is coming, Mirko says, seriously narrowing her eyes towards the column of smoke. Is strong, she whispers. At that moment, the survival instincts of all the heroes present were activated at the figure in front of them. My apprentice finally started making important decisions for himself, says a figure through the column of smoke with a muffled but very thick voice through an oxygen mask that covers his entire face. Behind me is the generation that will change this dying world, says All For One. It's a shame All Might isn't here to witness this historic moment. I'm pretty sure Child Emperor had something to do with it, says All For One, laughing lightly. Peace symbol, tricked and embarrassed by a little boy. I wish I could see his face when he finds out everything that happened in his absence. It is wonderful, he exclaims, holding out his hands theatrically as the heroes tense. Who are you? Mirko asks, clenching her teeth while her legs tremble a little. Both she and the rest of the heroes are confused as to why her bodies feel so afraid of this person. Don't you know who I am? In my time, my simple name gave nightmares to the strongest heroes. He responds by starting to levitate in the air. A flight quirk, No, how did he destroy the building a few moments ago? Something is wrong here. Edgeshot whispers. My name is All for One, sworn enemy of your peace symbol. All for One exclaims, pointing both hands in the direction of the heroes as he levitates in the air. The Bujiman, he says darkly as a crooked smile spreads across his face. Everyone take cover. Edgeshot exclaims with panic in his voice. Then a powerful and gigantic shockwave destroys everything in its path. Cars, buildings, heroes. Well, shall we start? All for One says, looking at all the destruction his attack caused. What pathetic heroes, he says, shaking his head in disappointment at not seeing any heroes standing. At that, his gaze focuses into the distance, precisely where the fight against Endeavor is taking place, as a smile begins to spread behind his oxygen mask. The world is already changing. EO via Samu, they are blaming you for this whole mess. Your hero days are over. I say proudly with my hands on my waist as Endeavor stands dumbstruck looking at his surroundings. Unknowingly, Endeavor's flames got out of control a long time ago and headed to different parts of the city, causing numerous fires. So in the public eye, the culprit for all this mess would be Endeavor, in addition to the leak of his dark past. You're lying. There's no way you, Endeavor says, looking at me with wide eyes as a portal spawns behind him. At that, a hand quickly reaches through the portal in the direction of Endeavor's head. However, he uses his arm to block the attack. I have you, says Tamura with a sadistic smile on his face, placing all 5 fingers in contact with Endeavor's arm, which causes part of the skin on his arm to disintegrate before jumping back. Holding his injured arm as his body begins to generate more steam. At that moment, a portal is generated in front of Endeavor, while Toga and Dabi rush against it, followed by Tamura. Damn, exclaims Endeavor, exchanging blows against them. How does it feel? Dabi exclaims with his fist covered in blue flames hitting Endeavor's stomach. Everything you worked for now is worthless. Dabi exclaims as his flaming fist smashes into Endeavor's face. Nothing, he exclaims, laughing out loud as the steam coming from Endeavor grows stronger. You can all burn in hell with me, Endeavor exclaims as the flames cover his entire body again. Hellfire storm, he exclaims, creating a powerful whirlwind of flames around him. However, a portal appears below Tamura, Dabi, and Toga, who all reappear behind me at a safe distance from Endeavor's desperate flames. At that moment, in the distance behind us, numerous buildings begin to collapse as a great smoke screen begins to rise over the entire eastern part of the city. I don't have time to think about that right now. In the center of the battlefield is Endeavor reeling. It's time to finish this quickly. I have exhausted most of my arsenal, and most of my inventions are damaged. This will have to suffice. Maximum propulsion, I exclaim quickly, which causes a strong shock wave to come from my 3-dimensional rocket shoes, propelling me at incredible speed in Endeavor's direction. At this, a special metal alloy begins to cover my left foot up to the knee. Child Emperor Endeavor yells at the top of his lungs as his body refuses to move, looking at me with a defiant look on his face. Stubborn to the end. Emperor smash, I exclaimed as a powerful kick covered in a special metal alloy slammed into Endeavor's face, sending him flying into nearby debris. At this, I perform a 3-point superhero landing while quickly jumping to my feet. Yahoo! I exclaim happily with my hands in the air, watching an unconscious Endeavor on top of various rubble in front of me. We really did it. We beat Pro Hero number 2, Tamura says, taking off his mask with a strange smile on his face. In that, I quickly visualized the surroundings using my holographic visor, and did not detect any sign of any approaching hero or machine. Looks like someone has taken care of the hero reinforcements, I whisper cheekily. Could be, Tamura asks with wide eyes in the direction of Kurogiri, who only looks away from Tamura. He's still breathing. Dabi growls, forming some flames in his hands. You're right, we have to kill him, Tamura says, approaching the unconscious Endeavor. I will bath in his blood, says Toga with a knife in her hands. Stop, I exclaim, getting between them and Endeavor, which generates confusion on their faces as they look at me strangely. It's not what you think, and don't see me like that, I exclaim quickly, crossing my arms. For a moment I thought you'd let him off with a moral lesson like any shonen protagonist, Dabi whispers to himself. During the fight, I came up with some pretty funny ideas, I answer innocently. What's going through that little head of yours? Dabi asks with interest. Child Emperor has some pretty disturbing ideas in his head, Toga says, jumping happily. What are you talking about? Tamura asks, tilting his head. There are fates worse than death, I reply with a cheerful smile on my face, looking at the unconscious Endeavor. Kurogiri, please take us to a safe place, I say as my robotic tentacles grab Endeavor and suspend him in the air. Kurogiri looks at Tamura for approval from him, to which Tamura simply waves his hand dismissively as Kurogiri creates a portal behind us. We defeated ENDAVOR. We defeated Endeavor. Toga hums over and over as she jumps through the portal. Heroes are forgettable. They try to save the world, but villains are the ones who change it, Dabi says with his hands in his pockets, going through the portal. Level completed, Tamura says, walking through the portal with a crazy smile on his face. Then as I'm about to step through the portal, a figure crashes to the ground on the other side of the battlefield, causing smoke to rise around them. Everything is fine now. Why? Says the figure as the smoke clears around him. Because I'm here, All Might whispers with his eyes wide open at the destruction around him, and then his gaze focuses on me holding an unconscious Endeavor with my robotic tentacles. This causes him to freeze on the spot. He will not attack a small child. You're late, I say, stepping back and starting to walk through the portal. EYE I say, waving goodbye with a shitty grin from behind my gas mask as horror spreads across All Might's face, lunging in my direction, evidently holding back. Ho, Hydra! Ha! I exclaim victoriously, raising both fists in the air theatrically, as the portal completely consumed me, along with an unconscious Endeavor. No! A mighty scream filled with anguish, helplessness, and failure was heard throughout the city as All Might fell to his knees. Now the real game begins. EOV Samu, after traumatizing All Might, the portal took me inside a completely dark room. With no one else around me, even the unconscious Endeavor disappeared. Lights! I whisper as a light bulb extends from inside my backpack and swings above me, illuminating the surroundings. Did I just enter the backrooms? No, that doesn't make sense. I whisper with a slight smile on my face as I shake my head. Some theories begin to circulate in my small brain about where I am. However, I quickly determine my situation by observing several gnomes in a vegetative state, floating in a strange liquid behind glass. As far as I can see, they are imperfect gnomes in their early stages. He is trying to intimidate me. This place certainly has its charm. I hum with my hands in my pockets as my gaze focuses on one of the corners, where my holographic visor picks up a heat signature. Don't you think so? All for one, I say with a sly smile from behind my gas mask. The pieces on the game board begin to move. So you know me, and yet you don't seem frightened by my presence, says All for One slowly as the lights around him turn on, illuminating his entire figure. He is sitting in a chair with some tubes connected to his body, while his oxygen mask is next to him, revealing his disfigured face. You never cease to impress me, Child Emperor, he says as a crooked smile begins to spread across his face. The kid who humiliated and possibly traumatized the symbol of peace, he says, starting to clap his hands slowly. I must admit that you are very cunning and intelligent for someone your age, he says, looking at me intently as he stops clapping. However, there is something I still don't understand. He hums. What is your motivation? Why did you do all that? He asks with interest. I just wanted to have fun. That is all I say, laughing cheekily, putting my hands behind my back and swaying back and forth innocently. For fun, he whispers, massaging his chin. Do you realize the magnitude of your actions? Trust in heroes has been compromised. Right now there are riots in many cities, and the government has announced martial law, he says as a smile begins to spread across his face. All on the whim of a little kid, he says, starting to laugh out loud. You remind me of myself in my younger days, he says, looking at me intently with a strange look on his face. There is no need to hide your identity from me. After all, I can see through your mask, he says, waving his hand dismissively. As expected of the man who terrorized Japan in his time, I sigh, taking off my gas mask and taking a deep breath of fresh air, exposing my face. I need to make some adjustments to my mask, I whisper, putting my gas mask in my backpack. I brought you here because our goals somehow align. I have a proposal for you, he says, all for one with a crooked smile on his face. I am listening to you, I reply with a sly smile on my face by extending my arms theatrically. EOV third person, this is a message from the Japanese government-endorsed Heroes Public Safety Commission, broadcasting on all frequencies. As of this moment, martial law is applied throughout the territory of Japan. All heroes out of service must report immediately to fulfill their duties. The radio broadcast is repeated over and over to every hero agency in the country. The news of Endeavor spread at an impressive speed through all the news channels, which caused numerous riots in different cities due to the destruction caused by Endeavor. Faced with this situation, the government ordered the deployment of all available heroes, including the hero students who were doing their internships, to quell the riots. In the center of the city where the battle against Endeavor took place, numerous pro-heroes and police officers are searching the surrounding area for people trapped under the rubble. After neutralizing the Furbies, Ingenium along with other seriously injured heroes and police officers were taken to the UA for medical attention. Meanwhile, the rest of the heroes were quickly mobilized toward the city. However, it was already too late. They escaped, says a Razorhead with some makeshift bandages on his body, looking around. This is problematic, he sighs. Not only did they escape, but they also captured Endeavor. Now Masa says, seriously looking at the destruction around. Rescue teams found Mirko in the rubble of a building along with other heroes. At this time, they are being transferred to the UA, while rescue teams continue to search for more trapped heroes. Now Masa says, rubbing his eyes in irritation. What about All Might? A Razorhead asks, raising an eyebrow in now Masa's direction. He's indisposed at the moment, that's all I can tell you. Now Master replies with a heavy sigh. The press will wonder why he didn't show up on time, says Eraserhead shaking his head. I know, after this disaster, nothing will ever be the same. Trust in heroes has been negatively affected by Endeavor's actions and All Might's absence. Now Master says, looking at the night sky of the city while the smoke is still rising in the air. It will be very long days for the heroes. He whispers, Child Emperor. This is all Eraserhead says, clenching his fists in frustration as the helicopters fly over the city. We'll catch him? Present Mick says, placing his hand on Eraserhead's shoulder. I have a score to settle with that brat, says Midnight, smiling darkly, holding her whip tightly. In an office inside the country's foremost hero school, Nezu sits in front of his computer, analyzing the recordings of the combat robots sent to the city to provide assistance. At this, Nezu's small body tenses as he watches one of the recordings. He has returned. That is all he says, looking at the recording of All for One floating in the air before destroying everything in his path. In another city, on top of a building, Chisholm Akiguro is holding a sword in his hands, looking with a smile on his face as dozens of people rush against a barricade made up of heroes and policemen. Fake heroes! Fake heroes! Fake heroes! The crowd yells. Martial law goes into effect, prepared to be arrested. A burly pro-hero exclaims as several pro-heroes fall in behind him as the cops start banging on their riot shields, moving towards the crowd. A little boy has done what I never could, Chisholm Akiguro sighs before bursting out laughing at the top of the building. No more fake heroes, he exclaims with determination plastered on his face as he watches the heroes in the distance fighting the crowd. I am Stain and I will purge this world of false heroes, he says, holding his sword tightly as he starts charging toward the heroes. In another location, a young Tenya Yida stands in front of the television, with wide eyes watching as numerous riots occur in different cities. Brother Yida whispers, squeezing a little Furby that his older brother bought him months ago as a birthday present. At that moment, the phone began ringing and his mother answered, shortly after he was heard as the phone falls to the ground. Mother? Yida asks, confused, hugging the Furby tighter. Meanwhile, in the offices of the Public Safety Commission of Heroes, everything is a complete mess, with people in business suits running from one place to another, carrying mountains of papers, while the phones do not stop ringing. Hawks is out cold. Endeavor was kidnapped by the villains after setting half the city on fire, while the peace symbol suffered a mental breakdown. The president of the HPSC exclaims, hitting her desk with force. New riots are reported in Tokyo. One of the workers exclaims, Endeavor's agency is on fire. Another worker exclaims, we will not stand idly by while Japan burns. Mobilize all heroes. Mobilize the retired heroes if necessary, the president exclaims. From this moment on, the Hero Public Safety Commission declares Child Emperor an S-rank villain, exclaims the president of the HPSC, surprising the workers. From that point on, Child Emperor became the youngest S-rank villain in Japan and the rest of the world. It was a trap from start to finish. I should never have boarded that ship. All this happened because of me, says All Might in his emaciated form on top of a building, seeing the destruction caused to the city. What kind of peace symbol allows something like this to happen? He whispers with despair on his face. He is just a little kid. What would you have done in my place, Master? Says All Might, looking at the sky of the city while the sirens of police and firemen are heard all over the place. Then a shiver ran through the body of each professional hero as Child Emperor shook hands with All for One, thus marking a new era for heroes. The era where a little kid uses the world as a playground. Weeks later, during the following weeks, the process of rebuilding the affected areas of the city began, which were quickly rebuilt, thanks to the help of volunteers, together with donations from the government and other organizations. Among these organizations is Millennium, an organization that has gained quite a lot of popularity in recent months on the stock market, and its frequent donations to charitable organizations, such as the construction of orphanages and hospitals around the world. The protests continued for a few days, until they were eventually put down by the heroes, in conjunction with the support of the police. The news media continued to smear Endeavor for most of the destruction caused, and criticized the Heroes Public Safety Commission for keeping a person with a dark past as a professional hero. Given this, the HPSC denied any knowledge of the former number 2 hero's past actions, and soon after Endeavor was declared missing in action, much to the chagrin of people crying out for justice. During this period of time, a new video platform took the internet by storm called EmperorTube, where Child Emperor regularly boasts his exploits to the world and makes fun of the heroes. Damn, Midnight whispers, hiding in an alley trying to call him back up. However, none of her electronics work. Her patrol route was interrupted by a very dangerous and unpredictable opponent. Running won't do any good, Child Emperor exclaims, laughing out loud and propelling himself into the air, with the help of his 3-dimensional rocket shoes, while the entire area is cut off with no other heroes around. I should have followed Nezu's instructions and not patrolled alone, she sighs, squeezing her whip tight as she sneaks down the dark alley. However, she is stopped in her tracks as a chill runs through her entire body, as something lands right behind her, causing a small shock wave. I found YOU tilde midnight. Child Emperor whispers, crouching behind her while a video camera is suspended in the air, recording the entire situation. At that, Child Emperor clasps his hands together as an evil grin spreads behind his gas mask. Wait, Midnight exclaims, trying to turn quickly and face the threat. However, it was too late. Leaf secret finger technique. 1,000 years of pain, exclaims Child Emperor cheekily. Then a strange female scream was heard throughout the alley as Child Emperor left the area laughing loudly. Muahahaha. The next day a new video was uploaded to EmperorTube, achieving more than 20 million views in just 1 hour. Days later, in a classroom. Isamu-kun, I brought your favorite chocolates, says a girl nervously. Hey, Isamu-kun, will you participate in the soccer tournament? Asks a boy cheerfully. Isamu-kun, did you see the new video of Child Emperor using a secret technique in Midnight? That movement is currently fashionable, says a boy with glasses smiling goofily. Isamu-kun, Isamu-kun, Isamu-kun. The crowd harasses. Unbeknownst to anyone, Toga is substituting for Isamu at school today, as a forced smile spreads across his face, repressing the instinct to stab everyone present. In another location, standing in front of a door is Dabi, while his hands shake a little. Before this, he clenches his fists with determination and rings the bell. We will not give any more interviews. Please leave us alone, says a boy, opening the door before his eyes widen at Dabi. Shoto, who's at the door? Another annoying reporter. Fire-me asks, quickly approaching the door together with a wary Natsuo. Lately many reporters have been harassing them. Hello little brothers, sorry for the delay. I got lost on the path of life, Dabi says, nervously scratching his head. Then Fayumi's tears were immediate, while Natsuo's breathing quickened, trying to understand the situation. It is assumed that his older brother died years ago in a fire while training in a forest, and they never found his body. Toya Shoto whispers as his lip begins to tremble. He won't hurt them again. Why? Dabi says with a strange smile on his face. Because I am here. That is all he says before his brothers crash into him in a tight hug as they begin to cry on him. At the same time, in a gloomy bar. Sensei, did you call me? Tamura asks obediently through a screen. We got an ally with a very interesting mind, but at the same time very dangerous. This will be my only warning to you as my successor. Be very careful when dealing with Child Emperor. He will try to trick you, manipulate you, and use you for his own ends. All for One says seriously across the screen. But I thought we were allies. Tamura answers, confused, scratching his neck. Lies don't work on me when a person has even the slightest malicious intent towards me. I know, All for One says darkly. However, we need him if we really want to accomplish our goal. And he knows it, he says as a crooked smile spreads across his disfigured face. After all, the worst monsters hide behind a smile. Miles away, in a huge secret facility underground. At first, when All for One ordered me to help you develop this project, I thought you were just a little brat playing villain. However, now I realize how wrong I was. Dr. Daruma Yujiko says with a smile on his face, looking out from behind a shielded window as he ruffles Child Emperor's hair. Do you think it would scare the heroes? Child Emperor asks curiously. The heroes will certainly have nightmares after facing this, says Yujiko, massaging his mustache. Are you sure you can contain this thing? Yujiko asks, raising an eyebrow. At this, Child Emperor takes out a lollipop from his pocket and stuffs it into his mouth as he unfolds his laptop from his backpack and begins typing rapidly. Activate security protocols. Child Emperor whispers as different protection mechanisms activate around the room. Activate biological weapon SCP-01. Child Emperor says with a proud smile on his face as a deafening roar is heard throughout the place and numerous holographic screens appear around him. Who is the strongest? I am the strongest. The creature roars as powerful flames engulf the entire room. Sit down, Child Emperor exclaims, pointing his hand towards the creature behind the special glass. At this, the creature instantly obeys, dispelling the flames and sitting on the ground. Good boy, Child Emperor says with a smile on his face. You know that's not a dog, right? You know what? Forget it, says Yujiko, shaking his head slightly, seeing how Child Emperor enters the room and caresses the creature's head as if it were a pet. This world is now my playground, Child Emperor whispers with a proud smile on his face, petting his new pet. 3 months later, Izuku, what is a hero? Ever since the day the new S-rank villain Child Emperor appeared, I've asked myself the same question over and over again. Endeavor was a professional hero, he was one of the pillars of society, the villains were afraid of him, and his mere presence of him demanded respect. Now, the name Endeavor fell out of favor after his actions destroyed a part of the city, and his dark past came to light. All caused by a villain who should be the same age as my little brother. At this, a chill runs through my entire body. Why is he doing all this? Where are their parents? What kind of twisted family would allow something like that? Does he even have a family? I shake my head quickly. He's a villain. Child Emperor is a villain. Due to his actions, the press has also blamed All Might for not arriving in time to prevent the disaster. All Might was not to blame, and yet he was forced to apologize in front of the television cameras. Since that day, All Might's characteristic smile disappeared. What is really a hero? What kind of hero do I want to be? I already decided. I want to be a hero who saves everyone with an unwavering smile on my face. At this, I clench my fists with determination. When I become a hero, I'll catch Child Emperor no matter where he hides, and I'll do it with a smile on my face. At that moment, a small hand grabs the back of my shirt, causing me to stop moments before a truck speeds past in front of me. I got distracted in my thoughts again. Damn it. You should be more careful when crossing the street. You don't know when truck may attack. My little brother says, giggling with a lollipop in his mouth, holding the back of my shirt with his small hand, while his gaze is focused on his cell phone which he holds with his other hand. My little brother's instincts are impressive. I'm sure Isamu will be a great pro-hero in the future. At this, my face turns red with embarrassment for being so pathetic. Thank you, Isamu-chan. I stutter as I lean in front of him at a 90-degree angle. I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to be the one to protect you, and yet it's you who protects me. I stutter quickly. I'm really pathetic. I whisper helplessly, maintaining my bowed position. Then Isamu taps my forehead lightly with his index finger. My silly older brother, he says, looking carefully at me. You're not pathetic, he says with a slight shake of his head. At that, I averted my gaze as my lips started to tremble. Don't be so dramatic and please don't cry, just don't cry, says my little brother quickly. You always know how to cheer me up. I sigh shakily as a huge smile begins to spread across my face. Thanks, I whisper. My little brother simply waves his hand dismissively as we both start to cross the street. Come on, you promised me that you would take me to the park that I wanted after school, he says, leading the way as his gaze returns to his phone. Without a doubt, I have the best little brother in the world. Shortly after, we arrived at one of the city parks. I don't understand why Isamu insisted so much on coming to this specific park. Why do you look at your phone so much? Is it some kind of game? I ask with interest. Huh, something like that, is all he says as his eyes scan the surroundings as if he's searching for something. Can you buy me an ice cream? Says my little brother, pointing to an ice cream stand in the distance. Mom said no ice cream, I respond quickly. At this, my little brother uses his secret weapon, puppy dog eyes. He knows I can't resist that. Okay, but not a word to Mom. Wait for me here. I sigh while he smiles brightly. Sometimes I feel like my little brother manipulates me. So I headed to the ice cream stand, and after a few minutes of standing in a short queue, I went back to where I left my little brother waiting, only to find that he was nowhere to be found. At that moment, my heart starts beating rapidly in panic. I've lost my little brother. Somebody save me. I hear the scream of my little brother, and without thinking twice, my feet moved alone in the direction of the scream. Isamu, due to my intervention in this world, I have completely ruined the plot, so I must take special measures before it is too late. So while Izuku goes for some ice cream, I start one of the biggest fraud operations in modern history. Start, I exclaim through my undetectable comm as a predatory grin spreads across my face. In that, my view is focused on my phone, which is transmitting the real-time location of the target, which is not very far from me. This will be interesting. Shortly after, I find myself approaching a subject who is sitting on a bench in the public park, while he watches people with a melancholy and desperate look. It seems like this person hasn't slept in days as he snorts audibly. It's time to secure the one for all. Due to the butterfly effect, it is impossible for Izuku to get one for all, so there is a 98% chance that the next one for all successor will be Mirio Tagata, and that is unacceptable to me. Well, I could get the one for all for myself. However, that would be very troublesome for many reasons, and it would be very selfish of me towards Izuku. So I will manipulate the events so that Izuku gets the one for all. After all, if things get out of control in the future, Izuku will have to make the most important decision of his life: be on my side, or fight against his little brother. At this, I walk over to a haggard Toshinori Yagi, and sit next to him as he stares at me in surprise. Can I help you with something, boy? He questions. You look very sad, I say, taking out a chocolate from my pocket which I extend in his direction. Have one of my chocolates, it will make you feel better, I say innocently with a charming smile on my face. So low have I fallen that a little kid feels sorry for me, he whispers before shaking his head and taking the candy bar with a slight but tight smile. Thanks, kid, he says as he starts eating the chocolate bar. However, it is not an ordinary chocolate bar. why are you sad? I ask, tilting my head innocently. He snorts as he finishes eating the Dose chocolate bar. I'm a fraud. I couldn't save you all, and now my old enemy is back. He says slowly as his eyes dilated a bit. I am pathetic, he says, clenching his fists. And what will you do about it? From what I see before me, you are not doing well at all, I say, pointing at him subtly. You said it, he sighs. My older brother Izuku doesn't have a quirk, and yet his dream has always been to be a hero like All Might and save people with a smile on his face. He makes up for his weaknesses with knowledge, I say with a smile as my words catch Toshinori's interest. My brother likes to analyze quirks, strengths, and weaknesses. He has many books full of all kinds of information, I say, raising my hands in the air to make my point. My brother does not give up, even though no one believes in his dream, and that is why my brother will be an excellent hero, I say with a proud smile on my face. What are you trying to tell me, kid? He asks with a strange look of conflict on his face. I'm going to assume that by now you've learned that the world isn't fair, and sometimes you get the worst, and it's all you get, I say seriously as Toshinori's eyes start to widen little by little with every word I say. And if you don't personally do something to fix it, you'll stay like this forever, is all I say as Toshinori's breath quickens with his eyes wide open as if he has received divine revelation. It should be noted that the chocolate I gave him is affecting his logical thought process, which benefits me. Live your life, look for what you want. What else could matter? I exclaim, jumping to my feet and spreading my arms theatrically with a joyous smile on my face. Kid, what is your name? He asks as he clenches his fists in determination. I am Isamu Midoriya, the little brother of the next symbol of peace, believe it, I exclaim with a sly smile on my face. Maybe, just maybe. He whispers, looking at me intently. However, we are interrupted when a figure wearing a costume jumps out of a tree and lands right behind me in a superhero landing. Super quick capture move, the subject exclaims, carrying me on his shoulders before comically starting to run. Do not scream. Scream all you want, exclaims my nice kidnapper. Toshinori's eyes widen in shock, trying to understand what just happened as the steam begins to come out of his entire body. However, he cannot transform into All Might at this time. After all, lately, when All Might runs out of energy, he comes to this park to sit on a bench for hours, watching people with a depressed look on his face due to the guilt he feels. I have taken many precautions for this moment. Somebody save me, I exclaim, dramatically fighting the urge to laugh out loud, watching as All Might in his emaciated form starts running after me alongside a panicked Izuku. Release my little brother, Izuku exclaims, running after twice as he tries to call the police. However, to no avail due to the entire area being without coverage, along with all the security cameras being disabled due to scheduled maintenance. Next to Izuku is All Might in his emaciated form, breathing heavily as he tries to reach Twice, who is running at full speed, while carrying me on his shoulders. They will never catch me. They're going to catch me, he exclaims, Twice stopping under a bridge on the outskirts of the park away from civilians, and prying eyes as Izuku and Toshinori surround him. I guess I have to do my part. I'm scared, I exclaim, dramatically hitting Twice's back lightly with my little hands. It's your time to shine, Izuku. I have prepared everything for you. Don't be scared. Why? Because I am here, Izuku exclaims with a smile on his face as he takes a determined step forward and throws his heavy backpack in the direction of Twice's face under Toshinori's stunned gaze. At this, the backpack hits Twice's face. Ouch, he exclaims before falling to the ground, clutching his head as Izuku's books end up around him. In that, I nimbly free myself from his grip and start running towards Izuku. Izuku, I exclaim, bumping into Izuku's chest, hiding my huge evil smile, while Izuku hugs me and tells me that everything will be fine. I didn't want it to come to this, but they leave me no choice, Twice says, ominously standing up. My most powerful move, he says, pulling a tape measure from his belt. Super move of is all, Twice says before being interrupted by a powerful gust of wind produced by a muscular All Might, causing Twice to be propelled into a nearby wall, knocking him into it and knocking him unconscious. I wince as I look at the unconscious Twice. That must have hurt. I have to make it up to him later. I really have rusted, All Might says, breathing heavily as steam covers his entire body, and he quickly returns to his emaciated form under Izuku's stunned gaze. Master, I found the one, he whispers, looking at Izuku. Then a police car quickly arrived, and a woman in a police hat and uniform got out of the car. Well, I hope he hasn't caused too much trouble, she says, pointing at Twice. I was supposed to watch him, she says, clasping her fingers together nervously, and then proceeds to handcuff Twice, who conveniently regained consciousness. Oh no, Twice says, dramatically looking at the handcuffs on his hands. I'll take this delinquent, she says as she stays silent for a few seconds before looking directly at me with a face flushed with embarrassment. She forgot a line. Toga, you only had one job. Thanks for your help. Now, bye. She quickly improvises by putting Twice in the police car before speeding away. It's lucky that All Might isn't that smart other than the fact that he's under the influence of my special candy bar. Any other hero would have suspected Toga. However, both Izuku and Toshinori ignored all of this as they continued to stare at each other. "You are All Might," Izuku exclaims, pointing at the haggard peace symbol. "Oh," I exclaim, covering my mouth, feigning surprise and avoiding bursting into laughter. "I'll need you both to keep what I'm about to tell you a secret." Toshinori snorts before telling us about his injury, his feud with All for One, and how he's back now. After a few minutes, Izuku finally asks the most important question. "Do you think I can become a hero despite not having any quirks?" He asks determinedly, looking All Might straight in the eye. At this, I take out a lollipop from my backpack and start eating it, while enjoying the fruits of my planning. "You have the determination and heart of a hero. I saw it with my own eyes," says All Might in his gaunt form, pointing at Izuku as the wind blows in our direction, making the situation even more dramatic. "You can become a hero," he says seriously, causing Izuku to clutch his chest tightly as tears of happiness start running down his face. "My silly big brother is such a crybaby, and that is why you will become my successor," he says, quickly transforming into his muscular form as his trademark smile for the first time in months spreads across his face. "After all, young Izuku, fate brought us together today," All Might exclaims, throwing his fist up in the air. "If only they knew. EOV third person, the little boss is definitely scary. He is fantastic," Woke twice exclaims with a hand on his chin, looking down from the top of a building. "Isamu-chan is a little manipulator." Toga hums with a smile on her face as she wears a police hat. "However, he really cares about his family," she whispers. Then All Might begins to explain his quirk as Izuku listens intently, and Isamu just continues to eat his lollipop with a calculating look on his face. "You need to strengthen your muscles, otherwise your body won't," is All Might says, before Isamu quickly cuts him off by lifting Izuku's shirt to their surprise. "What are you doing?" Izuku exclaims, red-faced with embarrassment as his muscles are visible. "Izuku has been training hard to be a hero," Isamu says, cheekily pointing at Izuku's muscles as All Might nods his head. Isamu doesn't have the patience to wait for a silly cliché training sequence. "I was thinking of a multi-month training routine, but your current physique will suffice," All Might says, pulling out a hair from his head and extending it in Izuku's direction. "Now, young Izuku, eat," All Might says, turning back to his gaunt form as he coughs a bit. At that moment, a victorious smile spread across Isamu's face as Izuku acquired the One for All. "1 month later, you gave a kid you barely know the One for All," Gran Torino whispers, jumping up and hitting All Might on the head. "You're stupid," Gran Torino asks, raising an eyebrow at him as they both walk down a long hallway. "He has the heart and determination of a hero," All Might says, proudly massaging the bump on his head. "And with his little brother supporting him, I'm sure young Izuku will go a long way with the right training," he says, smiling and giving a thumbs up. "You really are stupid, Toshinori," Gran Torino says, shaking his head. "However, there are more important things to do right now than clean up your messes," he growls as the two reach the end of the hall and enter a large room filled with pro heroes and cops. They too are the last to arrive. At this, All Might's eyes widen in surprise as he looks at the people who are leading the meeting. "Welcome to the assault group. Winter is coming 2 weeks after park events." EOV third person in a remote town late at night. A battle was taking place between the professional hero duo known as Water Hose against Muscular, a very dangerous A-rank villain. It's been more than 30 minutes since the battle started, so all the civilians managed to evacuate the small town, while the nearest reinforcements are 10 minutes away. However, the Water Hose hero duo are barely holding their own after battling this very powerful villain for an extended period of time. "Water pressure!" the pair of professional heroes exclaim, sending a powerful water current in the direction of Muscular, who uses his muscle fibers to protect himself from the powerful current of water. "Damn heroes. I will kill you both painfully for interrupting my fun," Muscular exclaims, angrily creating more and more muscle fibers around his body, before charging toward them like a rabid animal. Given this, both heroes realize that they will not be able to win this battle. "Kota, my son, we won't be able to return home this time," one of the heroes says in a female voice, falling to her knees due to exhaustion. In that, the other remaining hero, who is her husband, stands by, sending out a stream of water with all his might, which gets weaker as the end draws near. "You are the man of the house now, Kota," he whispers as he closes his eyes, thinking of his little son waiting for them at home. "It's time to die," Muscular exclaims in front of them with a sadistic smirk on his face as he swings his massive muscle-covered fist at them. Then a powerful energy blast hits Muscular's chest, sending him flying into a nearby house, causing it to collapse on top of him. What has happened?" whispers the perplexed hero, looking at a miniature tank in front of him and his wife. While the tank's cannon is giving off smoke, Chaos 12 mini tank. It is a small but powerful remote-controlled miniature tank capable of firing powerful energy blasts in order to destroy and pierce heavy armor. It is a perfect device for infiltrating and causing chaos around you. It can be controlled from miles away, However, a substantial impact on the mini-tank's structure will cause its power core to fail, causing it to self-destruct. At that moment, Child Emperor lands in front of the duo of heroes, causing a small shock wave that surprises both heroes. Wow, that was certainly very dramatic and exciting, Child Emperor says, holding a remote control in his hands. Child Emperor. Both heroes exclaim in surprise as they stagger a bit due to how exhausted they are. How long have you been watching us? The woman asks, coughing lightly. Minutes before the battle started, and then spend the rest of the time eating popcorn and enjoying the show. Child Emperor gleefully replies with a thumbs up in their direction. I'm sure their heroic fight against Muscular will be trending on EmperorTube for a few days, he says, picking up the mini tank and putting it in his backpack along with the remote control. In that, Muscular's screams begin to be heard all over the place. Get out of me. Get out of my head. The screaming suddenly stops, causing the hero couple to shiver. You'll be fine, don't worry, Child Emperor says, waving his hand in disdain and looking intently at the hero duo with a predatory smile. What do you want from us? The woman asks shakily as she squeezes her husband's hand. They know very well that they don't stand a chance against an S-rank villain like Child Emperor. Me, Child Emperor says, looking both ways before pointing at himself with a shitty smile behind his gas mask. I want to play a game, Child Emperor exclaims, spreading his arms theatrically as small flying objects hover behind him and swoop in the direction of the hero duo as small red lights illuminate the surroundings. At the same time, outside a television studio, Uwabami. A photo, an autograph. Marry me, exclaim the crowd, taking photos as the professional hero and celebrity Uwabami poses for her fans. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to buy my latest perfume, she exclaims, blowing a kiss towards the crowd, who quickly go berserk as she gets into her limo and walks away from the crowd. She takes a seat and relaxes in her comfortable limo as her gaze focuses on a strange hat at her side. At this, she clicks her tongue as she tosses the hat to the other end of the limo. Whoever invented that monstrosity of a hat is not worthy of being called a fashion designer. She sighs. Uwabami's senses have always been very sharp due to her quirk, whereupon, shortly after, her eyes narrow towards the driver's back. There is a reinforced glass that separates her from the driver, so she didn't notice something very important before. He smells different, she whispers, taking out her cell phone to inform her hero agency of her situation and request backup. However, her phone stops working as the vehicle starts speeding up more and more. You noticed right, says the chauffeur with a creepy giggle, looking through the rearview mirror as he presses a button. At this, the lights inside the vehicle turn off completely, while a small red light turns on not far from her, making mechanical noises before lunging at Uwabami. Damn, she exclaims, activating her quirk, which causes 3 snakes that were sleeping on her head to start desperately defending her from whatever it is that is attacking her until everything falls silent. After all, she is not a heroine made for combat. Just as Child Emperor predicted, Toga hums, looking in the rearview mirror with a predatory grin on her face. In another location several kilometers from Japan's most secure prison, a group of police vehicles is heading towards Tartarus in order to deliver a highly dangerous prisoner, while using a little traveled road to reach their destination. However, the path is blocked by a small hooded figure with his hands on the ground. What's that? A boy, one of the officers asks, trying to communicate with the other vehicles. However, it is in vain because he does not receive any response. What about communications? He nervously asks. Ice Age. The small figure exclaims as a powerful stream of ice freezes everything in front of him. Given this, the road along with the vehicles that were approaching the figure was frozen and immobilized, causing the perpetrator's eyes to widen in astonishment and fear. Just then 2 armored vehicles speed up and pull up behind the small figure as several hooded figures with Hydra logos on their suits climb out of the vehicles. You did well, little brother, Dabi says with a proud smile on his face. Now, get in the vehicle and stay safe, he says, nodding his head before rushing towards the police convoy along with several people. They attack us. A pro-hero who was escorting the convoy exclaims as his entire body transforms into solid rock, ready to fight the villains. However, when he got out of his vehicle, a powerful shield crashed into his head, knocking him out immediately. This shield is fantastic. It's not bad at all, Twice exclaims, using the shield given to him by Child Emperor for the first time, along with a new costume, after the events of the fake kidnapping. Ho, Hydra! Twice exclaims, raising both fists in the air, due to the excitement of the moment as he begins to fight several police officers at the same time. Dabi ignores the small fight as he approaches his target, at which a small but compact ball of blue fire forms between his hands and sends it toward the back of a huge transport van. This causes the blast door to melt, allowing him to enter the interior. Inside the interior of the van is a huge metal box with numerous security chains and bars, from which comes a peculiar scream. Meat, meat, give me meat. A desperate scream is heard coming from inside. This kid sometimes scares me with his strange games, Dabi whispers with a crooked smile on his face. "Ho, Hydra," he whispers. 2 weeks later, POV Yajiko Daruma, "Are you sure about all this, brat?" I say, staring at a screen in the comfort of my secret lab. "Yeah," Child Emperor exclaims, raising both hands in the air in excitement behind a screen as he holds a lollipop in his hand without needing his mask. "After all, I know the true identity of Child Emperor. The heroes are coming for me," he exclaims with a predatory smile on his face. "Shouldn't you be panicking or evacuating that base?" I ask, raising an eyebrow. However, I quickly shake my head, realizing who I'm dealing with. "You are without a doubt a walking ball of chaos. Did you know that?" I smiled slightly. Most likely he orchestrated the whole thing. This kid has no limits, and that is what makes him so scary and interesting at the same time. Since I have been helping Child Emperor under All for One's orders, we have both developed a strange relationship of mutual respect due to both of us having advanced knowledge in different areas. We usually discuss our theories for hours, and even help each other with our projects. However, the kid is against human experimentation on innocent people. I guess he's just a kid after all. I still remember when he forced me to release a dozen captives in exchange for a more effective method of investigation. It should be noted that the results were favorable. The show will be unforgettable. After all, Base C-137 was built for one purpose. Child Emperor says with an evil smile on his face. The amount of resources that Child Emperor possesses is one of the biggest mysteries. How deep has his organization infiltrated? What is the actual range of Hydra? So many questions and few answers. "Keep Tamura and the old man away," Child Emperor says with a knowing smile. Child Emperor doesn't trust All for One, and All for One doesn't trust Child Emperor. Those two have a lot in common. Base C-137, I hum, remembering something interesting. "Isn't that the base where you have a throne made of swords?" "How convenient," I whisper before starting to laugh out loud. How far is this kid capable of going? I want to know what his limits are, what his true motivation is, and what he is willing to sacrifice to achieve his goals. "I'm a fan of," Child Emperor says, shifting his gaze to the side as he narrows his eyes as if he's watching something in the distance. "Hey, do not touch that," Child Emperor exclaims as glass is heard breaking. "Help!" I hear a child scream as part of the room Child Emperor is in suddenly freezes. "I told you not to touch that. Dabi, your brother is attacked by one of my inventions again," Child Emperor exclaims in frustration. "Sometimes I feel like I'm the only responsible person here," Child Emperor exclaims before abruptly cutting off communication. At that, the screen automatically shows a different room with numerous professional heroes and police officers discussing the plan of action against Child Emperor and the Hydra organization. "We are all part of a great and elaborate game," I whisper seriously. "A game controlled by a monster in the body of a little kid. Fascinating," I exclaim with admiration. Child Emperor is undoubtedly a unique specimen in this world, plagued by extraordinary things. However, All for One will not sit idly by while a little kid threatens his position. "Io via Samu, I am sorry," Shoto Todoroki whispers, starting to thaw the ice in the room. "Your brother pestered me for days for the purpose of accepting you into my organization," I say, looking at him carefully as he shudders at my gaze. "After all, you are only a child," I sigh, scratching my head. It was a bit premature to accept Shoto into Hydra. However, with proper training, he will be extremely powerful in the future, which benefits me. In the same way, I already have plans for him to enter the School of Heroes with Izuku. I will be useful, he exclaims, clenching his fists. I will definitely be useful to Hydra," he says quickly. In other words, Shoto sees me as some kind of personal hero and wants to help Hydra as a sort of debt for freeing him from his father. "You will be useful, Shoto," I say, walking up to him with my hands behind my back. "And in the process, you will help shape this twisted world," I say with a slightly crooked smile on my face. At my words, Shoto's eyes shine with blind admiration as a determined look spreads across his face. "Hail," he whispers before looking at me intently. "Hail, Hydra," he exclaims, raising his fist in the air as I keep walking with a smile on my face. "I really am evil. Don't brainwash my little brother," Dabi says, getting in my way as he crosses his arms and shakes his head. "I have no idea what you mean. After all, you were the one who brought him here," I answer, innocently shrugging past him. Soon an epic battle will take place at Base C-137. All agents keep their assigned positions. "I don't want anyone to interfere in my little game," I say, stopping at the door. "Twice will be the only person accompanying me," I say, seriously looking at the occupants of the room. "Stay safe, brat," Dabi whispers. "Winter is coming," I whisper with a shitty smile on my face as I start to head in the direction of Base C-137. "Nezu, Sir Nightai, no matter how much they plan against me, after all, in a battle of wits, I am second to none." POV third person. Hydra's base of operations is located in the center of a large thick forest. Thanks to joint efforts with Island, we have managed to obtain this valuable information. Sir Nightai explains, pointing on a screen at a huge structure that is undoubtedly Hydra's base, and thus where the S-rank villain Child Emperor is hiding. Usually Island stays away from the internal conflicts of other countries, However, Child Emperor has drawn the attention of many people within the island due to his interesting inventions, says David Shield, looking at all the heroes in the room, in that his gaze stops at All Might, who simply gives a thumbs up. I was sent by Island to provide logistical support and document the capture operation against Child Emperor and the criminal organization known as Hydra. He seriously says with his hands behind his back, we certainly know very little about Hydra, and it is precisely for that reason that it is a very dangerous organization. Nezu says slowly, according to the information we managed to collect, Child Emperor is an important member within the organization. However, we have no information about who controls Hydra or what their goal is. He says, snorting a bit. 2 weeks ago, says Sir Nightai, the hero duo Waterhose and Juwabami were kidnapped, as well as the disappearance of the villain Muscular and the ambush of a convoy carrying the villain Moonfish. He says, adjusting his glasses as Naomasa Tsukauchi stands up. A day after these disappearances, a video was posted on Emperor Tube showing the fight between Waterhose and Muscular, which is why we are sure that Child Emperor and the Hydra organization are involved in these disappearances. Naomasa says, since then no further posts have been recorded except for a cryptic message. He says, checking his laptop, winter is coming. It's all he says. That message can be interpreted as a show of power, a threat, or a simple mockery on his part. However, Child Emperor should not be underestimated, much less the organization of which he is a part. Nezu says with an unreadable look, Hydra and all its members will pay to make Koda-kun cry. Mandalay exclaims, bumping her fists in frustration and anger, before being controlled by Tiger and Pixie Bob, who are part of her team of heroes. Child Emperor is being used against his will by that evil organization. Hawk exclaims, we have to save him from the clutches of Hydra. He exclaims, hitting his fist against the table, causing a dent. I promised him I would save him. He whispers, don't defend a murderer, exclaims Rocklock, pointing accusingly at Hawks. It's his fault, Gunhead is. He exclaims, clenching his fists. Child Emperor may be an S-rank villain. However, he is not a heartless killer, says Eraserhead, yawning. He could have easily killed many professional heroes and decimated the entire city with his warlike inventions. However, he didn't. He is just a troublesome kid who needs help, a lot of help. He sighs. We also have information that the Hydra organization has some kind of alliance with a very dangerous villain called All For One. Now Masa intervenes, causing many people in the large room to tense up. I will be direct with all of you. We have no idea what we will be up against, Sir Nightai says, walking to the center of the room under everyone's watchful eyes. Those who don't want to participate in the operation, please leave the room right now, he says, pointing to the door. I failed in my duty as a symbol of peace once. I will not make the same mistake twice, All Might says with a completely serious face. We are professional heroes, we are the pillar that separates the dark from the light, he says with determination, drawing admiring glances from many heroes. At this, no person left the room. I officially welcome you to the strike group. You are very brave heroes, and you have my greatest respect for that. Offer up your heroic hearts, Sir Nightai exclaims, placing one hand behind his back, while the other rests on his heart as a sign of respect towards the heroes and officers in the room, surprising everyone. At that moment, all the heroes and policemen in the room stand up with a look of determination on their faces, imitating the same salute. Hours later, led by Sir Nightai, the assault group set off for their uncertain fate, with the purpose of putting down the growing criminal organization known as Hydra, and capturing the S-rank villain Child Emperor. Ahead, Sir Nightai exclaims, pointing to the forest in the distance, as dozens of professional heroes and police officers begin the operation. EO vs Samu, they are here. I whisper, looking through a huge window at the top of my tower. I am currently at base C-137. In this game, you either win or lose, there is no middle ground, I say as my heart starts beating faster. System, play my epic music selection, I whisper as the speakers begin to play the Game of Thrones opening song. Sir Twice, you will be my royal guard in this game, I say, cheekily pointing at Twice, who quickly nods his head and plays the part perfectly. I will be your shield and your sword. They will have to go over my corpse to get to you, Twice exclaims with a comical bow as he protectively stands by my side using his new outfit along with his powerful shield. If the heroes want to get to me, they will have to go through my forest of chaos and reach the highest level of my tower, I say with a sly smile, looking at the forest surrounding the tower before turning around and starting to walk toward the center of the huge room. At this, my eyes light up as I watch as dozens of humanoid robotic figures position themselves at my sides, wearing tactical suits with the symbol of Hydra, and equipped with laser weapons, forming a long and orderly line towards a huge throne. In this superhuman society, if you can dream it, you can do it, I stand in front of my throne as numerous holographic screens appear around me, showing various people in different parts of the world watching me at this moment. They are the undercover agents of Hydra around Japan and parts of the world. Today the heroes will know our power with a great show of force. I exclaimed, looking at all the holographic screens before me. We are the shadow that lurks in the dark. I exclaim as a look of determination settles on the faces of all these people. If one head is cut off, 2 more will take its place. I say slowly as my words are absorbed by all of them. Hail Hydra! I exclaim, extending my hand epically towards them before taking a seat on my comfortable iron throne with a satisfied smile gracing my face as I activate all the defensive mechanics of the tower and the forest. Hail Hydra! Hail Hydra! Hail Hydra! All the people through the holographic screens along with the robotic figures in the room and twice start exclaiming over and over again, raising their fists in the air. At that moment in the forest, numerous heroes freeze in fear as they watch the red-eyed figures appear from the trees with a gaze that promises only pain. Let the games begin. The forces of good vs the forces of chaos. Who will prevail? Let the games begin. Child Emperor exclaims through all the speakers positioned around the tower and the forest, for which all the heroes stopped in their tracks, with their eyes wide open, realizing the situation. Not only were they found out, but the enemy knew they were coming. All units initiate attack. Sir Nightai exclaims over the radios. At this point it is impossible to go back, so the only thing left is to continue with the operation. At the beginning of the operation, the heroes separated into small groups to cover more ground while they entered the thick forest, making as little noise as possible in order to take the enemy by surprise. However, the plan went to hell. Goodbye to the surprise factor. Hawks laughs slightly as he spreads his wings and propels himself into the sky. Nothing is that simple when Child Emperor is involved. Ryukyu whispers, transforming her body into a huge dragon and knocking down some trees in the process as she soars into the sky, joining several pro heroes who possess quirks that allow them to stay airborne. I, Captain Celebrity, will demonstrate in this operation why I am one of America's greatest pro heroes, says Captain Celebrity with an arrogant smile on his face, flying next to Hawks. At this, a look of disgust settles on Hawk's face. Captain Celebrity is a famous American hero who is in Japan due to a scandal against him. After all, he only cares about fame and not the lives of civilians, unlike Hawks. Flying alongside the heroes are several unmanned drones controlled by David's shield, supplying reconnaissance information to the heroes on the ground. They think they can fly to the tower. Child Emperor chuckles lightly, looking at various holographic screens, which show the progress of the heroes, as he eats popcorn on his big iron throne. Fire the Hydra-inator. Child Emperor exclaims with cheeks swollen from popcorn as he points to his battle droids. Roger, roger. We're approaching the tower, everyone keeps your guard up. Hawks exclaims, extending his senses to look for any kind of threat. Caution is for the cautious. Captain Celebrity exclaims, increasing his flight speed and placing himself in front of the entire group of heroes. I will guide all of you to the is all he says before his eyes widen in horror, quickly forming an aerodynamic barrier in front of him. Then a red light along with a huge explosion covered Captain Celebrity, causing him to crash into the trees, alarming the heroes in the air. Evasive action. Hawks exclaims as numerous explosions begin to occur around him. At the top of the Tower of Chaos, a huge anti-aircraft turret sits, firing explosive laser blasts at any hero in the air. This weapon goes by the name of the Hydra-inator. Heroes. Child Emperor exclaims through all the speakers. Catch me if you can, he exclaims with a childish laugh, pressing many buttons on the holographic screens around him. It's time for the Chaos Force to come out and play. Child Emperor hums with an evil smile on his face. Poor heroes. Twice exclaims dramatically with a hand covering his mouth before he and Child Emperor start laughing. Damn it. Mirko growls, clenching her fists as she watches as explosions in the sky begin to take down several pro heroes. I have to admit, that kid sure knows how to get attention, says Mount Lady, shaking her head as she and Mirko reach an open field where a figure stands motionless watching them both. Uwabami. Mount Lady exclaims as she realizes that the figure in the middle of the open field is Uwabami, the snake hero, who was kidnapped by the evil organization Hydra. Did you manage to escape? Mount Lady asks, quickly approaching her. However, a crooked smile spreads across Uwabami's face. Watch out! Mirko exclaims as she flexes her legs and pushes off with impressive speed, holding Mount Lady before the ground beneath her collapses into a crater. That was close. Mirko whispers, narrowing her eyes at Uwabami, who has her hands on her hips with an arrogant smile on her face. However, what draws the attention of both heroines is Uwabami's red eyes, while she is wearing a strange hat that is emitting a red light. Shit, both heroines say in unison. Door 15. It is a hat with advanced artificial intelligence that has as its main purpose the mental control of the target while eliminating the wearer's peculiar limiter, which causes an exponential increase in his quirk. In other words, it can be used as a quirk amplification device. However, prolonged use of this device will eventually cause permanent damage to the user's peculiar factor, greatly weakening the target's quirk unless the target has a regeneration quirk. This device is currently a prototype, so it may have flaws in its code. If a target has a strong will, they are controlling her. Damn it, Hydra! Mirko exclaims. That is evil and immoral. Mount Lady exclaims. Given this, a hologram appears in front of both heroines, which causes both to be placed in combat positions. In front of them is the small figure of Child Emperor wearing his characteristic gas mask. Die! Child Emperor exclaims with his hands spread in the air dramatically. You! Mirko exclaims, lunging at the small figure. However, she passes through the hologram much to Child Emperor's amusement. You can't hurt me unless you can telepathically strangle me through the hologram, Child Emperor says, waving his hand dismissively. I want to introduce you to the new and improved Uwabami, part of my Chaos Force, he exclaims, pointing animatedly at Uwabami, who keeps watching the situation from a distance with a predatory gaze. You will pay for what you did to Uwabami, Mount Lady growls. If you want her to go back to normal, all you have to do is take the hat off her head, Child Emperor says with a shrug as if it's a logical thing to do. However, it will not be an easy task. He laughs slightly. After all, he says slowly, I'm a cute little evil genius of chaos. Don't you think I'm adorable? He says, innocently swaying back and forth. When I find you, I'll kick your ass, Mirko says with a smile that promises pain. I will be waiting for you at the top of my Tower of Chaos, Child Emperor cheekily says with a defiant smile. That is, if they don't end up as food for Uwabami's pet. He says quickly. Good luck, they'll need it, says Child Emperor, approaching the edge of the crater. Bye-bye, he exclaims, jumping into the crater as the hologram disappears. Did he just say something about being eaten by Uwabami's pet? Mount Lady asks, confused. At that moment, the ground begins to shake as a huge creature appears from the bottom of the crater, surprising both pro-heroes. What the hell? Mirko exclaims with eyes wide open, watching the creature in front of them, before a determined look spreads across her face. I've always wanted to hit that smug bitch, and now I have the perfect excuse, Mirko says, bumping her fists as she starts to flex her legs. We have a huge problem on our hands, says Mount Lady, activating her gigantification quirk and drastically increasing her size. Ho, Hydra! Uwabami growls with a crooked smile on her face, and a hand gripping her hip as she stands on the head of a gigantic snake. Many explosions and sounds of combat can be heard in the distance as the Pussycats hero group keep an eye on their surroundings as they continue their advance toward the Hydra Tower. However, their path is blocked by a small lake. This is strange. According to the map, there shouldn't be a lake at this location, Mandalay says, looking around suspiciously. Are you sure we're not lost? The battle seems to be taking place elsewhere, Pixie Bob says, creating some ground monsters which she sends to scour the surroundings in search of a landmark. Perhaps the information we were given was not as accurate as we thought, Tiger snorts, crossing his arms. At that moment, Ragdoll tenses up, causing the rest of the group to quickly go into defensive stances. Given this, a hologram of Child Emperor appears in the middle of the group, surprising the heroes. Child Emperor, they exclaim at the same time, preparing for combat. Don't be so surprised, Child Emperor says, spreading his arms dramatically. I am everywhere and nowhere, he says, with a pair of holographic cat ears on his head and along with a small tail, as his eyes sparkle with amusement. Now, we all look alike, Naya, exclaims Child Emperor, striking a pose before bursting into laughter. You cheeky little bastard, where's Water Hose? Mandalay asks, clenching her fists. The hero duo that was once Water Hose is no longer the hero duo Water Hose, Child Emperor says, raising a finger. If you really want to save Water Hose, you will have to confront them and destroy the device that is controlling them, he says, with his hands behind his back, approaching the shore of the lake. This information shocks the group of heroes, as they did not expect Child Emperor to be so collaborative with them. Why are you telling us all this? What's the catch? Mandalay asks, narrowing her eyes at the Child Emperor hologram. Little Kota made a wish, says Child Emperor, surprising Mandalay. This is a small price to pay considering the general scheme of things, he says, cryptically nodding to himself as he snaps his fingers. Just then, the lake's water begins to rapidly recede, to the Harris' surprise. This is bad, very bad, Pixie Bob whispers with panic in her voice. I hope they know how to swim, Child Emperor exclaims happily with a thumbs up in the direction of the group of heroes as a giant wave rushes up behind him. Surfing the huge wave is the hero duo Water Hose, ready for battle. Meat. I will devour your flesh, Moonfish exclaims. Meat will make me stronger. he exclaims in desperation as he dodges large pieces of wood coming from Kamui Woods. He is fast, Edgeshot says, following the movement of Moonfish with his eyes. But not enough, he says, transforming his hands into thin pointed blades, which extend with impressive speed towards Moonfish, piercing his arms. Now, Best Jeanist exclaims, using the fibers of his clothing which rush towards Moonfish, immobilizing the villain quickly, while large pieces of wood also surround the villain in the second layer of security. Edgeshot, knock him out, Best Jeanist orders as he tightly wraps his clothing fibers around the villain. However, a hologram of Child Emperor appears on top of a tree, distracting the heroes. A hologram? They have been spying on us all this time, Edgeshot says, narrowing his eyes at the hologram. Did they manage to defeat Moonfish so quickly? That is amazing. However, Child Emperor says, pointing to a hat on Moonfish's head which is still emitting a red light. You should have aimed for the head, Child Emperor says, snapping his fingers with an evil grin behind his gas mask. Just then, Moonfish begins to scream in pain as his body begins to convulse violently. Forced quirk evolution, Child Emperor whispers proudly as Moonfish's limbs begin to lengthen and strange sharp red blades detach from his back, causing the heroes present to shiver. At that moment, the speakers around the trio of heroes begin to play the Tokyo Ghoul opening music, as the Child Emperor hologram begins to sway back and forth, happily humming the tune on top of a tree. Oshiit, Ashaiteo Sono Shikumi wo. What's going on? Kamui Woods asks nervously. His quirk is evolving, Best Jeanist exclaims with wide eyes as he tightly holds the fibers of his clothing around Moonfish. However, Moonfish extends his arms, causing him to break free of the bonds, as he hits the ground hard. Guys, what the hell is Hydra really? Kamui Woods whispers, looking fearfully at the creature in front of them. They are a real threat. Edgeshot responds, seriously preparing for combat. Meet, I am in a twisted and unstable world, but no one can see what I really am, Child Emperor happily sings in his throne room, watching the many fights taking place at the same time, and all the fights that are about to start. While outside his tower, a battle is raging between the forces of chaos and the forces of order. Muscular smash. A loud roar is heard in the forest as dozens of trees fly toward a group of heroes. Muscular smash, little caped humans. I am waiting for you, exclaims Child Emperor, pointing to the forest with his hands on top of his tower with a predatory smile on his face as he watches all the chaos around him. Muscular smash. At the beginning of the operation, David Shield, together with some of his subordinates, established a logistics camp not far from the combat zone in order to provide support to the main assault group. This camp is also used as a medical camp and resupply center. The camp is in an open area which provides an excellent field of vision should an enemy approach. Fat Gum, Gang Orca, and Musha have started the fight against Muscular, David Shield says, with his hands behind his back in front of a group of heroes and police officers. They are part of the backup group, while behind David Shield are 3 pro heroes sent by Island for his protection. The entire eastern part of the forest is flooded, while Mirko and Mount Lady are fighting a giant snake in the western area, and numerous hidden traps have also been detected around the forest. He explains, causing many heroes and cops to flinch. Should we support them? One of the police officers asks. No, David Shield answers in a forceful way. They are professional heroes qualified to handle this kind of situation. Our priority is to provide logistical support and reinforcements to the main attack group led by Sir Nightai. In that, one of the heroes sent by Island approaches David Shield and whispers something in his ear, while he slightly nods his head. We have lost contact with Best Jeanist Edgeshot in Kamui Woods, a radio operator exclaims, approaching the group and drawing the attention of everyone present. However, a robotic hand emerges from the ground holding the operator's leg, causing his face to lose all color. Oh no, everyone to your battle stations, David Shield exclaims in the direction of the heroes, before dozens of droids begin to emerge from the ground. Hydra Battle Droid. It is a droid designed specifically for combat. It has thick armor, so it can withstand blunt impacts in most of the robotic body. However, its weak point is in the head. A strong impact on the head will cause the droid to fail, and in some cases self-destruct. These droids are equipped with a variety of weapons for the purpose of neutralizing the opponent. They are usually used as training droids for the training of Hydra members. These droids will follow all orders from the high-ranking members of Hydra as long as it is within their programming code. Whose wonderful idea was it to separate us? Asks Bubble Girl, looking carefully at the surroundings while some fighting is heard in the distance. It was David Shield's idea, and Sir Nightai agreed with him, Ms. Joke says, looking around her for any threat. But let's be positive, there are heroes who are having a very hard time right now, she says, giving a thumbs up with a smile on her face, trying to lift her spirits. It's impossible. Sir Nightai is an excellent strategist. He would attack with forceful force, and not separate all the forces. Bubble Girl exclaims in frustration. However, a small holographic figure appears in front of them. Prepare for trouble, and you had better be afraid. The Child Emperor hologram exclaims, pointing at both heroines with his hand. Because I'm here, he exclaims with amusement. Is this little boy the cause of so much trouble? I must admit that he does look a bit adorable aside from the fact that he's an S-rank villain. Ms. Joke starts to laugh out loud, activating her quirk in the direction of the hologram. Ha! Nice try, but your quirk doesn't work through a hologram. Barker. Child Emperor taunts, causing Ms. Joke's frustration. Why are you here? Bubble Girl asks, squinting at the hologram. That is an excellent question. Child Emperor says, holding up a finger before a detonator materializes in his holographic hand, which causes both heroines to tense up. Whoever laughs last laughs best. He whispers with a crooked smile behind his gas mask, pressing the detonator. Given this, a trap that was near both heroines is activated, covering them both with a strange viscous substance. What is this? Bubble Girl exclaims, watching in horror as the substance begins to take effect. I am melting. I'm melting, she exclaims, throwing herself to the ground in a panic, before realizing that the substance just completely melted all of her clothes. You are a little demon, Ms. Joke says, covering her parts with a red face of embarrassment. Muahahaha. Child Emperor laughs loudly, pointing to a couple of naked heroines in the middle of the forest. Hey, what are you watching? Twice's voice is heard in the background, causing Child Emperor to startle, abruptly interrupting his laughter. Nothing, Child Emperor quickly exclaims, deactivating the hologram. I want to go home. Pro-hero native exclaims in a panic, taking cover behind a tree, hugging himself in a fetal position as laser blasts fly through the wooded area. The group of heroes he was in was ambushed by battle droids, and all but him were knocked unconscious. He thought that this operation would be easy with the help of the peace symbol and many powerful heroes. He just wanted to stay out of the battles, and leave all the heavy lifting to other stronger heroes. Then he could presume that he participated in the operation that brought down a growing criminal organization. However, everything changed when Hydra showed its claws. Target located, a robotic voice says, approaching the hero. Roger, roger. More robotic voices respond, surrounding the hero. I give up, I give up. Native yells, throwing his hands up in the air as several droids surround him. Just then, a small yellow figure appears from the bushes and lunges at the droids, destroying several of them quickly, before jumping at the head of the last droid. Use the force, young hero, Gran Torino says, swinging a cane on top of him. The brute force, he says, hitting the droid's head hard with his staff before leaping to the ground as the droid explodes behind him. Surely, wonderful and dangerous the mind of a child is, Gran Torino says, looking at the strange battle droids as a scent reaches his nostrils. Change your pants, you must, Gran Torino says, looking at Native, who has a completely pale face. At this, Gran Torino holds tight to his staff and begins to propel himself through the trees towards the Hydra Tower, with the intention of rejoining the main group. Keep going, Sir Nightai exclaims, hitting a droid's head with his heavy office seals, which creates a dent in the droid's head, disabling it in the process, as several heroes fight off the droids. At that, one of the heroes punches a droid's armored chest with his fist. Ha! The hero exclaims, holding his broken hand before the droid fires at the hero, causing a painful electric shock that renders the hero unconscious. Battle droids are not programmed to kill, but rather to incapacitate the opponent. Target neutralized, the robotic voice says, moving towards its next target, ignoring the hero on the ground. However, a capture weapon wraps around the droid, pressing down hard and splitting it in half. Critical failure, says the droid, deactivating. The droids are not lethal. The problem child is just toying with us by weakening our forces with his toys and traps. Eraser head sighs, sending his capture weapon in the direction of another droid, while Midnight and Present Mix stay close to him, quickly finishing off any droid in the way. Not again, Midnight exclaims as a robotic tentacle grabs her leg and begins to drag her into the bushes. At this, she quickly swings her whip around, hitting the robotic tentacle and freeing herself from it in the process. Constant surveillance. Eraser head sighs, lightly laughing at her. The brat has become more cheeky. She grips her whip tightly, standing up as she shudders at the destroyed robotic tentacle on the ground. Soon after, a group of heroes led by Sir Nightai stands around a huge blast door with the Hydra symbol in all its glory. This is the door to access the interior of the tower. We lost contact with David's shield minutes ago, so we will receive no logistical support or reinforcements once we enter the tower, Sir Nightai says as the heroes around him are attentive to his words. All Might is not answering our calls, while the rest of the strike force is fighting enemy forces all over this damn forest, he says, seriously adjusting his glasses. At that moment, the sky shows how the huge draconic figure of Ryukyu plummets, crashing into a group of trees, surprising the nearby heroes. Damn, she exclaims in pain, turning back into her human form. Ryukyu, what happened? Did one of the tower's lightning strikes you? Midnight asks quickly. Ryukyu shakes her head slightly. Some damn guys in some weird flying armor kicked my ass, she growls, clenching her fists before losing consciousness. Then the huge blast door that separates the heroes from inside the tower begins to slowly open as all the heroes present prepare to enter the tower. Children should not see such things. You're still too young. Twice reprimands as if it were a father catching a son doing something he shouldn't do. Irony. I'm an S-rank villain. S-rank. Age has nothing to do here. Child Emperor grumbles, crossing his arms under Twice's watchful gaze. At that moment, 4 figures with intimidating aura wearing tactical combat suits burst into the room. They are wearing a helmet while a jetpack is visible on their backs. Leading these subjects is the leader of the small group, who is wearing a cloak with the symbol of Hydra, which billows as he advances toward Child Emperor. It's about time you got here, Child Emperor exclaims happily. A small flying lizard got in our way. However, the result was as expected. The leader of the group laughs lightly in a high-pitched voice through the helmet. I must admit that the suit makes you look much more intimidating. Child Emperor hums with a cunning smile on his face. Very cool. He nods his head proudly. Your technology will definitely revolutionize the world, Child Emperor. The leader of the group says, looking at Child Emperor with respect. He knows that Child Emperor's technology has the potential to save countless lives or cause catastrophic destruction for the world. For a bright future, he whispers. The heroes have already entered the interior of the tower, so it won't take long to reach the first floor Guardian's room. He says as his smile gets bigger and bigger. I and my men will proceed to our assigned post. He says, the figure nodding his head. You guys want to change this twisted world? Child Emperor exclaims, standing up and pointing at the figures with his hand. Good for you guys. Because I won't do it for free. He exclaims with a crooked smile on his face. Go and fight for your ideals. Show me the power of your convictions. Show me your value. He exclaims, extending his arms dramatically. Ho, Hydra! The leader of the group exclaims alongside his men before turning around, his cape billowing epically as he unholsters a pair of blasters and heads to his assigned floor, followed by his men behind him. That was a bit intense, don't you think? Twice asks, scratching his head. Motivation before a battle certainly has a lot to do with the outcome, and a motivated person provides more entertainment. Child Emperor smiles as his eyes light up slightly with joy. The heroes have just entered the floor Guardian's room. Twice exclaims, pointing at a holographic screen. Now, it is time to give a warm welcome to the heroes. Child Emperor whispers as a predatory smile spreads across his face. Execute the Red King program. Back in my day, a good smack on the butt was enough to educate children. Gran Torino comments along with a group of heroes led by Sir Nightai, who are advancing through a long illuminated hallway. I highly doubt that Child Emperor is a normal child. Present Mick whispers, which causes many heroes to nod their heads. At this point, the heroes walk through a huge door and into a large, completely dark room with a computer at the other end. What is this place? Pro Hero Crust asks, narrowing his eyes. Sturus Red King activated, initiating personality program parameters set, establishing main power source. Star, who dares enter the Great Tower of Chaos. A completely red hologram in the appearance of a child materializes across the room, looking at the heroes curiously. Is Child Emperor? Midnight asks, confused, looking at the strange hologram in the form of a child. Don't compare me to my creator, the great and powerful supreme being Child Emperor Sama. The red hologram exclaims, glaring at the heroes. You dirty mongrels shouldn't be here. The hologram taunts the heroes. This will be problematic. A razor head sighs. Who are you? What thing are you? Sir Nightai asks seriously. I am the Red King Guardian of this floor, and you will not pass. The Red King exclaims proudly. It's just a hologram. It can't hurt us. Vlad King scoffs as he walks in the direction of the hologram. Don't rush and think logically. Remember that we are dealing with a problem child. A razor head whispers. However, a knife lodges in Vlad King's leg, causing him to fall to the ground with a cry of pain, clutching his wound, as the heroes stand around him protectively. All heroes are ready for combat. Where did the knife come from? Sir Nightai asks himself, bracing himself for combat with a hand to his chin, looking around the room. Before his eyes widen as he watches as the large blast door behind them quickly closes, trapping them inside the room. You're all going to suffer inside here, the Red King says, cruelly looking at the heroes with a look that promises pain, while behind him, dozens of sharp weapons unfurl from the wall, pointing in the direction of the heroes. Mongrels! He exclaims, pointing his hand in the direction of the heroes as numerous yellow holographic circles light up around the edged weapons. At that moment, all the heroes present knew beyond a doubt that what was happening in the forest was nothing compared to the horrors that are found in the Tower of Chaos. Gate of Babylon POV. Sir Nightinez's suspicions were correct. The criminal organization Hydra is more dangerous than we anticipated. The amount of resources they possess, along with highly advanced and dangerous technology, positions this organization far above others. Is Child Emperor the mastermind behind Hydra's actions, or is there someone far more dangerous behind the scenes? How long has Hydra been operating under our noses? Is the Child Emperor the mastermind? It is impossible. An organization of such magnitude is simply not formed overnight, much less by a small child. Nezu's theory that the Child Emperor is the product of a scientific experiment just like him makes more and more sense. However, this is just the tip of the iceberg. All the events that have transpired so far point to Hydra definitely having spies hidden in plain sight amongst the Society of Heroes. How deep has this organization infiltrated? Who can I trust? Be that as it may, we have to reach the top of this tower of chaos, only then will I get my answers. However, we now find ourselves in a precarious situation. Gate of Babylon, take cover, I exclaim, pointing at the heroes under my command as a barrage of medieval weapons rushes towards us at high speed. Swords, knives, axes, spears, and other sharp weapons. Feel the fury of the great tower of chaos. Mongrels, the Red King exclaims with a sadistic smile on his face. Black hole, no. 13 exclaims, forming a vast black hole in front of her, sucking in incoming weapons in her direction, and shielding herself, along with a group of heroes behind her in the process. Snipe quickly unholsters both of his firearms, and begins firing at weapons approaching in his direction, causing them to veer off his path and crash to the ground behind him. Someone is throwing a tantrum. Midnight whispers, using her whip to ward off sharp weapons, as she performs acrobatic backflips, causing some weapons to impact just inches away from her. I'm certainly not surprised. A Razorhead snorts as he extends his capture weapon, which pounces against some swords that were heading in his direction, causing some sparks when hitting his capture weapon. Damn, Hound Dog exclaims, holding a wound on his arm. At that, a spear pierces through his leg and slams into the ground, immobilizing the wounded hero as a warhammer zooms in his direction, prompting a howl of panic from the hero. Shield, Crust exclaims, standing in front of Hound Dog as a powerful shield materializes in his hands, protecting them both from the warhammer, which hits the shield, causing Crust to slide backward due to the strong impact. Don't worry, Shonen, this shield can withstand anything, Crust says confidently as the weapons begin to ricochet off his shield. We have to find a way to defeat him soon, one of the ectoplasm clones exclaims before a spear goes through his chest. Otherwise, we will all be defeated, another clone exclaims as he turns into a pin. Ectoplasm is right, if we stay on the defensive we will all be defeated. From what I've learned about Child Emperor, he sees the world as a playground, which is why he's probably watching us right now through the cameras around the room. We are just toys to him. Child Emperor is undoubtedly a great threat not only to Japan but also to the world, and the Hero Public Safety Commission will not sit idly by. I must capture Child Emperor before they get to him. The situation is very complicated. However, sometimes very complicated problems require simple solutions. At this, I nimbly dodge a spear while peering at the hologram across the room. Since the beginning of the fight, he has not moved from his position. He's protecting something. The computer, I exclaim, drawing the attention of the heroes who are doing their best to evade the weapons thrown at them. Others not so lucky, however, receive pulsing wounds from the weapons, forcing them to fall back and take cover behind number 13's wormhole. The computer behind the hologram is the one controlling this place, I exclaim, which elicits a laugh from the Red King. About time they found out. Stupid mongrels, the hologram exclaims, placing his hands on his waist with an arrogant smile on his holographic face. You should be thankful to the great and powerful Supreme Being Child Emperor Sama, who programmed me to be non-lethal against all of you, he says, spreading his arms dramatically before a crooked smile starts to spread across his face. However, nothing stops me from causing you guys pain. Much pain, he exclaims, reaching his hands into the air, which causes huge metal chains to emerge from some holes in the ground and lunge at the heroes. Help, exclaims a hero who was surprised by these chains, which wrap around him, lifting him into the air and then crashing him hard against the ground, knocking him out instantly. Shit. A brawny hero exclaims as a chain wraps around his leg and begins dragging him across the ground, before a warhammer slams into his chest, breaking some bones and knocking him out in the process. I only have one goal, and I will fulfill it no matter what it takes, the Red King exclaims, raising a finger as the huge chains position themselves at his sides, defending the computer. Snipe, I exclaim, quickly jumping back as several spears plunge into the ground right where I was standing a second ago. I know, Snipe exclaims, firing his weapons and using his quirk to control the trajectory of his projectiles, dodging the swords to the last millimeter in order to hit the computer. However, the huge chains intercept the bullets, causing sparks with each intercepted impact. Shit, he exclaims. At that moment, the barrage of steel stops. First wave finished, setting new parameters for the second wave. The Red King says seriously, it's over. Vlad King growls behind number 13, along with the rest of the wounded heroes. I'm just getting started, the Red King exclaims as a mighty golden spear crashes into Krust's shield, causing his shield to crack. New launch speed established, he says with an arrogant smile. My shield. Krust exclaims with wide eyes before looking directly at me. Sir Night-Eye, you have to use your quirk. It is the only way, he exclaims. The only way, huh? I whisper, watching as once again dozens of yellow holographic circles are placed behind the Red King, preparing a new and improved barrage of steel. My quirk works once every 24 hours, and I plan to use it directly against Child Emperor to find out his identity and eventually find out who is the mastermind behind Hydra's actions. Using my quirk on someone else won't work in this situation. I need absolute precision which I can manipulate. It's time to use my super move. However, I've only used it against Mirio when training him. After the events of Endeavor in the city, I have intensively trained my quirk to use it on myself. However, I will only be able to visualize 2 minutes into the future, my future. That will have to be enough. At that, the heroes who are still standing position themselves at my sides with determined looks on their faces. We are with you, Eraserhead says, adjusting his glasses while the rest of the heroes nod their heads. What determination. That is the spirit of a hero. Krust exclaims, hitting his fist against his shield as if he were a Spartan. It is an honor to fight alongside you, he says as his muscles begin to tense. It's time to give it all. I have to exceed my limits. Then a new barrage of steel is fired at us at a much greater speed than before, as the remaining heroes shout the battle cry and charge to their uncertain fate. Plus Ultra, some of them exclaim while others just silently contemplate the situation they are in. Critical hit, fatality. The Red King exclaims with a victorious smile on his holographic face. Plus Ultra Foresight, POV third person. I saw him. He just used his quirk on himself. Child Emperor exclaims, pointing with his hand at the holographic screen, dropping a container of popcorn to the ground. The butterfly effect is certainly interesting, he whispers, looking with interest at this new version of Sir Night-Eye's quirk. Butterfly effect, Twice asks, confused. Nothing important. Child Emperor waves his hand disdainfully while staring intently at the screen. My little artificial intelligence is in trouble. He hums lightly. Huh! Twice exclaims in surprise. Cheer up, Red King Kun. Twice exclaims, cheering the hologram. Berserker mode. Krust, the 6th ranked hero, also known as the Shield Hero, exclaims as thick layers of dark crust begin to cover his entire body. I'm not number 6 just because I have a pretty shield, he says, standing in front of Sir Night-Eye, flexing his legs as he drops his dented shield to the ground, before taking up a heavy sword. Go! Sir Night-Eye exclaims, looking in all directions of the battlefield, as one of his now violet pupils spins wildly in his eye, calculating each move 2 minutes into the future. By using his quirk on himself, he can visualize an alternate future depending on the decisions and movements he makes in that period of time. Present Mick uses a sonic wave to clear Krust's path. Gran Torino and Eraserhead on the sides. Ectoplasm grows. Sir Night-Eye exclaims, starting to run right behind Krust. Aura, aura, aura. Krust exclaims, using his heavy sword to deflect thrown weapons in his direction, while some weapons simply bounce off the thick layer of scabs that protects his skin. At this, a sonic wave produced by Present Mick causes some of the weapons to deflect, causing Krust to get closer to the computer. The Red King's attention is drawn to Krust as the Gran Torino figure begins to propel itself through the weapons, jumping from one weapon to another nimbly. A hero must see beyond the unexpected. Eraserhead sighs, unsheathing a small metal cane that transforms into a retractable cane, before starting to run with his hands behind his back towards the computer from the side. You're like a berserker, the Red King exclaims with a predatory grin as several yellow holographic circles settle behind him. However, I am inevitable. Maximum speed, he exclaims, pointing at Krust as several golden spears are fired at high speed at him. Krust uses his sword to deflect the first spear, causing a powerful shockwave along with many sparks upon contact with the metal. However, he was unable to avoid the rest of the spears, which pierced Krust's thick protective skin, sparing vital points and causing him to fall to his knees, with several spears protruding from his body. There was no other way. Sir Night-Eye whispers, leaving an injured Krust behind before adjusting his glasses, as he runs towards the Red King, with a determined look on his face as he accurately calculates every future action. Go and write your own future, Sir Night-Eye, Krust exclaims with the last of his strength before his body collapses to the ground, and he loses consciousness. Were you using him as a human shield? The Red King asks, curiously looking at Sir Night-Eye. Nothing bad, he exclaims as the chains on his sides lunge at Sir Night-Eye. At this, Gran Torino intercepts one of the chains with a powerful kick, deflecting his trajectory before the chain wraps around him, forming a kind of cocoon and trapping him inside. The rest of the chains are intercepted by the giant clone of Ectoplasm, which causes the rest of the chains to start immobilizing the giant. Mongrel, the Red King exclaims in frustration, seeing how his chains could not catch Sir Nightai. Before this, numerous sharp weapons perch behind him. Block this, he exclaims, pointing his hand in Sir Nightai's direction, which causes weapons to be fired at the hero. At first I thought that the future could not be changed, Sir Nightai says, leaning slightly to the right and dodging a sword. Fate was supposed to be written, he says, holding his glasses as a spear passes just inches from his head. How wrong I was, he says, tilting his body back epically, as several spears fly just above him in slow motion. Recalculating. Damn, the Red King exclaims as Sir Nightai begins to walk closer and closer in his direction. 12 degrees to the left, 2 centimeters to the right, 10 seconds left, Sir Nightai says, holding his glasses and dodging the weapons thrown in his direction with terrifying precision. It doesn't matter if you can predict my attacks, there's no way you can dodge this, the Red King exclaims, pointing both hands at Sir Nightai as dozens of spears a few centimeters apart prepare to be launched from the wall behind the Red King. Game over, he exclaims, clenching his fists in Sir Nightai's direction. There is no way Sir Nightai can dodge that many spears. However, it was not necessary, as a loud rumble behind the Red King caused the weapons to lose their main power source before they could be fired, taking the Red King by surprise. What? When? The Red King asks, with wide eyes, turning to look at the computer, only to see a razor head gasping for air with a pair of knives protruding from his arms as he holds a retractable baton that is reaching across the computer. A razor head took advantage of the distraction caused by Crust and Sir Nightai to approach the computer from the side, while all of the Red King's attention was focused on the rest of the heroes. No good hero is a one-trick pony, a razor head snorts before the computer breaks in half. Checkmate, Sir Nightai says, standing next to the Red King as his eye returns to normal. To be simple mongrels, they did not do so badly. The Red King whispers, looking carefully at Sir Nightai. You can cut off my head, but 2 more will take my place, he says with a crooked smile on his face. Ho, Hydra, he exclaims, throwing his fists into the air with a defiant look before disintegrating into hundreds of red particles. We won. Present Mick asks, falling to his knees and watching as the blast door they entered the room through opens again. At the same time, a door behind the computer begins to open, revealing a staircase on the other side. I don't think this can be considered a victory, Midnight whispers, looking at the many wounded heroes around the large room, along with hundreds of sharp weapons on the floor. You're right, it's not a win, Sir Nightai says, adjusting his glasses. More than half of the heroes are injured and will not be able to continue. He sighs, looking at one of the cameras in the room, which zooms in on him. We're coming for you, Child Emperor, Sir Nightai says, pointing his finger at the camera before the camera explodes from a gunshot. At that, Snipe spins his gun around before sheathing it on his belt. Get the injured to a safe place outside the tower, he says, adjusting his glasses before starting up the stairs. And be prepared for anything, he whispers. Meanwhile, on one of the upper floors of the tower, Chaos, EOV, Asamu Nuo, Red King Kun, he was so young, Twice dramatically exclaims with comical tears running down his mask as he holds a photo of a destroyed computer in his hands. Stop doing that, mongrel. The Red King's voice is heard through my phone. Even I still hear his smug voice. Twice exclaims louder. Don't worry, Twice. When the computer was destroyed, a security mechanism was activated, which transferred all of the Red King's data to my phone. I say, waving my hand dismissively like it's nothing before flashing my phone in Twice's direction. Behind the screen of my phone, the tiny figure of the Red King can be seen looking arrogantly at Twice, before sticking out his tongue in his direction. Red King Kun, you are still alive. Twice exclaims happily. You're still just as arrogant. I wish you had become a fairy, he exclaims in annoyance, holding his head. The Red King, to simplify, is a pretty advanced self-aware artificial intelligence created by me, so I made sure to program him carefully, so that he would be completely loyal to me. In short, he will not turn on me or try to destroy the world with an army of killing machines. He can also act as a very powerful computer virus. Of course, I'm still online. The Red King exclaims proudly, looking at Twice. Then his gaze focuses on me. As expected of Child Emperor Sama, you have thought of everything, he exclaims devoutly. Mission accomplished, he says with a slight bow through my phone screen. You knocked out a portion of the heroes and forced Sir Nightai to use his quirk in a rather interesting way. I nod as a smile spreads across my face. Good work, I say as the Red King's eyes shine with joy. The Red King's main goal was to force Sir Nightai to use his quirk. That way he won't be able to use it again until the 24 hours are up. I am not worthy of your praise, the Red King exclaimed, shaking his head. Maybe I went a bit overboard with the programming. I am only a faithful servant of the great and powerful. The dramatic speech of admiration towards me was interrupted by an explosion that shakes my Iron Throne a bit. It came from the upper floors. Twice says seriously. In that, numerous holographic screens are positioned around me, Possibly, I say as I start to scan the holographic screens quickly. A screen shows Mount Lady with a giant snake around her trying to eat her. Another screen shows Mandalay fighting water hose, while a water prison holds her fellow heroes. Another screen shows Best Jeanist Edgeshot and Kamui Woods running away from Moonfish, while another screen shows Fat Gun, Gang Orca, and Joroi Musha fighting Muscular, causing a lot of destruction around them. Another screen shows Bubble Girl and Ms. Joke naked fighting some robotic tentacles in the middle of the forest. At this, I suppress a laugh looking both ways, making sure that Twice is not looking at me, and I synchronize that screen with my phone, which causes the Red King to start sniggering. Another screen shows the heroes' logistics camp surrounded by battle droids as all visible heroes and police lie unconscious on the ground. However, another screen shows the cause of the explosion from moments ago. The Hydra has been destroyed. I hum, expanding the holographic screen showing Hawks along with Captain Celebrity epically emerging from the rubble of the Hydra. I thought Captain Celebrity was out for the count. Certainly, he is tougher than he looks and more dangerous. It will certainly be a very interesting battle. I whisper, pressing a button on my watch which functions as a holographic communication device. Seconds later, a holographic figure appears before me holding his helmet in his hands and wearing his combat armor, while his cape flutters slightly. Behind him are three figures wearing the same combat armor holding their helmets as they all watch me intently. Hawks and Captain Celebrity are approaching the amphitheater, prepare to intercept them. Both heroes may be following orders from the Hero Public Safety Commission, so they won't hold back, so I hope you won't hold back either. I say with a smile on my face as my eyes sparkle with amusement. For a better future, we will not let you down. The leader of the group says with a nod as determination is plastered on his face as well as the people behind him. Good luck, I say with a crooked smile spreading across my face, watching in amusement as one of my agents prepares for combat. The person who supplied the tech resources for the battle droids, the person who helped me with the programming of the Door 15, and the person who leaked the location of the tower to the heroes. Ho Hydra! David Shield exclaims, putting on his combat helmet as his cape billows epically. Ho Hydra! The three heroes behind him exclaim in unison, putting on their helmets ready for the battle to come. The claws of Hydra have certainly infiltrated everywhere. EOV David Shield. Hail Hydra! I exclaim in front of the small hologram of Child Emperor, donning my combat helmet which covers my entire face and distorts my voice as the 3-Eye Island heroes follow my lead heading to their designated posts. It is not the time to doubt, it is the time to act. Shortly after, I find myself walking down a long illuminated corridor with my cloak billowing behind me as I approach a huge metal gate that begins to open, revealing a huge and impressive amphitheater on the other side. Child Emperor spared no expense when building this awesome and terrifying tower. I still ask myself what kind of mysteries hides the twisted and fascinating mind of Child Emperor. As I get closer to the center of the arena, two flying figures land in front of me, creating a small shock wave that causes dust to cover both figures. It took us a while to destroy that pesky devil laser, Hawks says, chuckling lightly, shaking his big wings, clearing all the dust and revealing his figure along with Captain Celebrity. And I must admit that Child Emperor certainly has good taste, Hawks says, dusting off his clothes and looking around the amphitheater with a shocked look on his face, before narrowing his eyes at me. On that we can both agree. Hero, I say, sizing up both heroes in front of me ready to jump into action at a moment's notice. We don't have time for this, the other heroes will soon catch up with us. Captain Celebrity whispers, looking at Hawks before staring at me. If you answer a simple question we will let you escape, and you can return from the hole you came from, Captain Celebrity says with a smug smile on his face. Where is Child Emperor? Hawks asks seriously with a dark look covering his face, which sends a shiver down my spine. This feeling it's the killing intent directed at me. Child Emperor was right, the Heroes Public Safety Commission is making its move. And if I refuse to answer, I ask curiously, you die? Captain Celebrity says with a crooked smile on his face as Hawks remains silent. The battle is unavoidable, so be it. I growl, unsheathing a hilt and pressing a small button on the side. Immediately afterward, a black light materializes from the hilt, thus forming a black lightsaber. Child Emperor's technology is simply impressive. At that moment, three hidden figures descend from the air using jetpacks and position themselves at my sides ready for battle, while at the same time a conspicuous explosion occurs behind us. Child Emperor's penchant for dramatic entrances has no limits. Let the games begin. Child Emperor's excited voice is heard through all the speakers in the amphitheater. I snort, remembering the chain of events that brought me to this position. It is impossible to go back. I chose this path, and I plan to move forward with my convictions. The future depends on it. A determined look spreads across my face as I point my lightsaber in the direction of the pair of heroes who have dark looks on their faces. They don't plan to hold back, and neither do we. So, a few words from me were enough to unleash hell. This is the way. EOV Hawks. A few hours ago, after Sir Night adjourned the meeting, and most of the heroes were preparing to leave for the Hydra Tower, I was summoned by the president of the Heroes Public Safety Commission. I will save Child Emperor from the clutches of Hydra and keep my promise. Or so I thought before walking into that damned meeting room at the HPSC headquarters. What? Wait a minute, I don't get it. I ask in shock, taking a couple of steps back as a dozen people in business suits sit around a huge table in the meeting room. They are part of the board of directors of the Heroes Public Safety Commission. We ask you because we believe you can do it. You are not interested in honor or fame. One of the executives says, typing on his laptop at an impressive speed without even deigning to look at me. They know perfectly well that I cannot refuse. What cruelty. We made a deal with Captain Celebrity whereby he will support you on this mission. Another executive says, yawning a bit while Captain Celebrity smiles brightly. No, this cannot be happening. He was not present at the meeting with Sir Night Eye. I say, quickly gritting my teeth. I'm Captain Celebrity and I do what I want. Captain Celebrity says with a smug smile on his face with his hands behind his back. And I'm sure my friends here can safely include me in Sir Night Eye's assault group. He says, placing his hands on his waist. Damn it. Are you okay, Hawks? You look a bit pale, says the president of the Heroes Public Safety Commission, leading the meeting and watching me carefully, while some executives narrow their eyes in my direction. There is no problem. I respond monotonously, masking my facial expressions. If by getting my hands dirty I can reassure them, I'll be delighted to do so. I say with a slight bow. The child is a threat to the hero system. After the failure of Endeavor, our finances were negatively affected by compensation to those affected, while doing damage control, and removing all Endeavor merchandise from stores. Another executive says, adjusting his glasses, while the other executives nod their heads. I repeat the order, Hawks. The president of the Heroes Public Safety Commission says seriously. Before the rest of the heroes get to him, she says, standing up and pointing her hand at me as all the executives in the room stand up following her example. Kill Child Emperor. Shortly after, I leave the building and vomit into a nearby garbage can before using my wings to propel myself into the air, needing to get higher, much higher, where no one can hear me scream in frustration. Damn, he's just a little kid, a confused child who needs help, I exclaim with all my strength flying over the clouds. I promised him I would save him, and even so. Sorry, Child Emperor. I really am the worst. I whisper, clenching my fists tightly as I watch the horizon. This is the way. EOV third person back to the present. Come for me. Captain Celebrity exclaims with a vicious smile on his face. I'll show them what it means to be the greatest American hero. He says, flexing his arms and legs as a flying figure speeds towards him using a jetpack. They'll tell me where the brat is hiding one way or another. Captain Celebrity growls, swinging his fist with the intention of splitting the figure that approaches him in half. However, the figure stops abruptly at a safe distance, and pointing his wrist in his direction activates a small device that causes a large flame to rush towards the hero, covering him completely. Given this, Captain Celebrity quickly creates an aerodynamic barrier that protects him from the flames, affecting his visibility. However, as the flames cease, several metal cables wrap around his hands and legs, immobilizing him momentarily as a powerful electrical shock spreads throughout his body. The flying figures had surrounded him, and he hadn't realized it. At that moment, Captain Celebrity realized that he wasn't dealing with just some small-time villains. He was dealing with professionals. In the air, two figures hold the metal cables that restrain Captain Celebrity, while a third figure quickly lands on the sand, bending his body and exposing a missile that protrudes from his jetpack, pointing directly at him. Ho, Hydra! The figure exclaims, firing the missile in the hero's direction as Captain Celebrity's eyes widen. A loud explosion followed by a trail of smoke rises rapidly into the air, where a pair of figures engage in a deadly duel. Ha! David's shield exclaims with determination as his black lightsaber smashes into a feather-reinforced blade that Hawks used to defend and counterattack. In that, a strong kick slams into Hawks' chest, propelling him quickly backward, causing Hawks to spread his wings and send a flurry of sharp feathers in David's direction with the purpose of causing serious injuries. At this, David places one of his arms in front of him, thus causing a circular blue barrier to begin to extend protectively in front of him as he uses his jetpack to propel himself at full power toward Hawks. Then the razor-sharp feathers begin to slam into David's circular barrier with breathtaking speed. As he moves closer and closer in Hawk's direction, some feathers bounce off while others embed themselves in the barrier, causing the protective barrier to begin to crack, until eventually the barrier is destroyed just inches from Hawks, to both of their surprises. This caused both figures to collide in the air, holding each other, before beginning to collapse at high speed. At the same time they tried to hit the other. However, both collided at high speed with the ground, causing a large amount of dust to rise and spread throughout the amphitheater. That had to hurt. Child Emperor grimaces, watching the whole situation through one of his holographic screens, as many catastrophic ideas start to form in his little head. The Heroes Public Safety Commission has made its move. That being said, I think it would be impolite of me if I didn't return the gesture, he says as a crooked smile begins to spread across his face. Will you leak their dirty secrets to the public? Besides, I have something much better in mind, he says with a crooked smile on his face as he holds up his phone. It's time to go out and play. Twice. Child Emperor exclaims happily, spreading his arms theatrically. All of us. Time to kick some butt. I am so excited. Twice exclaims, placing his shield on his back before taking his measuring tape and stretching it out. Shortly after, at the headquarters of the Heroes Public Safety Commission, in one of the many offices packed with analysts and clerks, Yoshimiru Mera is in front of a computer. Yoshimiru Mera is a worker for the Hero Public Safety Commission. He is a generally sloppy-looking middle-aged man with a Tourette-looking face and unkempt hair and clothes. He suffers from a lack of sleep due to overwork, something he frequently complains about. You are currently checking your email when you suddenly receive an email with an attachment. What is this? He yawns, checking the message. * lack of sleep. Download a method to sleep like a baby right now! ! Has someone played a prank on me? Yoshimiru asks himself before shrugging and clicking the download option out of curiosity. At that moment, all the computers and electronic devices inside the building begin to show the Hydra logo, surprising all the people and especially Yoshimiru, who began to sweat when he realized what he had done. Link start. The Red King's voice is heard through all the speakers in the building as all the doors begin to lock along with a metallic layer that begins to cover all the windows in the building. The building has entered full lockdown mode. No one goes in, no one goes out. What's happening? An employee screams in panic as all the lights go out and the emergency lights come on. Open the doors. Another employee exclaims, banging on a reinforced door. The elevators are still working. Another employee exclaims, pressing the button to call the elevator as a crowd of people gathers around him waiting for the elevator. Do you hear that? Another person asks, approaching the elevator. Are those screams? He stammers, bringing his ear closer to the elevator door as his face turns pale. In that, the sound of the screams becomes louder, alarming all the people present, causing them to step back a bit as they watch dumbfounded as an elevator descends at full speed in front of them, out of control. However, it is not the only elevator out of control. An electronic display next to the elevator call buttons shows how all the elevators in the building begin to rapidly descend between floors. 7th floor, 6th floor, 5th floor, 4th floor, 3rd floor. Oh my god. A woman exclaims in panic, falling to her knees with her hands to her mouth. Unbeknownst to them, the elevator abruptly stopped a few floors before reaching the ground floor, avoiding crashing, but knocking out the occupants. Then a strange sleeping gas begins to circulate through the ventilation rapidly. The security system has gone out of control. One person exclaims, grabbing an emergency fire axe and starting to bang on a blast door to no avail. Open the door this instant. Another person exclaims, looking directly at one of the security cameras as he falls to the ground along with the rest of the office workers. While all this was happening, Yoshimiru was looking at an image on his computer with his eyes wide open as beads of sweat ran down his face. I am going to be fired, is all he says before falling into a deep sleep. At that moment, the image of the Red King is visible through all electronic screens, computers, telephones, and everything that is connected to the network of the building, thus causing expressions of terror and panic among the members of the board of directors when observing the symbol of the Hydra organization next to the Red King. Child Emperor Sama sends greetings. The Red King says, holding a rifle in his hands through the screens. That said, you dirty mongrels. Let's start the party, he exclaims cruelly. The Red King has taken control of the building. And that's the end of this episode. The series will continue in the next part. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share, and comment down below. This really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching. We'll be seeing you in the next part. Check out my other anime videos. Ho Hydra!